you take something away after it has been given away? You scolded me and my daughter, and you still want to eat my egg cake. Who is shameless? Lin Wanshu said, throwing the beans with worm holes all over the basket back into her arms. Take these beans back, and I will just pretend that you have never been here today. Holding the beans she picked out, Hu Indi was shaking with anger. Huang Fengying, who was standing by, saw her mother-in-law being humiliated, and she felt an indescribable joy in her heart, but at the same time, a twisted unwillingness and jealousy also surged up. How could she be so tough? Obviously, she was a city dweller, and Lin Wanshu came from a rural area, and she had a daughter like herself. Why can she live so wantonly? Huang Fengying looked at the beautiful face in front of her, and her eyes were obscure and difficult to understand. Please come in, both of you. I'm sorry I don't have time to entertain you. Lin Wanshu made a gesture of invitation. Not only did she not get the advantage, but she was also driven away. Hu Indi was so angry that her face turned the color of pig liver. Your husband must not know that you are such a spendthrift, right? If he knew, he would definitely drive you back to your hometown. She said a little indignantly, but as soon as she finished speaking, she heard a low but cold voice coming from the door. I earn money to spend on my wife. She can spend it however she wants. You don't have to worry about it. The man's voice was mixed with emotion, but Hu Indi couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. Huang Fengying looked at the tall and handsome figure at the door and listened to his domineering words to protect his wife. She felt as if something was grabbing her heart. She couldn't help but said, but she gave birth to a girl. Aren't you afraid that she will give birth to 3 girls like me? This was obviously meant to sow discord. If it was a man who favored boys over girls, he might have felt a thorn in his heart. Although after spending some time together, Lin Wanshu already knew that Qin Yan didn't favor boys over girls. But after all, this was the trend of the time. Which man didn't want a son? What if she couldn't give birth to a son in the next pregnancy? Would she have to keep giving birth like Huang Fengying? Although she liked children, she didn't want to be a reproductive machine just for giving birth to boys. The meaning of life should not be just to pass on the family line. Lin Wanshu didn't realize that she held her breath at some point, and her eyes were fixed on the tall figure. In response to her, the man looked at her with care and gratitude. She is willing to give birth to a child for me. I have no regrets in this life. It doesn't matter to me whether it's a boy or a girl. As long as she gave birth to a child, he would like it. Before this, Qin Yan didn't even dare to hope to get her love. Not to mention her giving birth to a child for him. The man's eyes were hot and focused. It was as if he had her, his life was complete. The child was just the icing on the cake. Lin Wanshu understood, and her heart was immediately drowned by the tide of affection. Boom, 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 her heartbeat lost control again. Qin Yan's words made Huang Fengying's provocation a joke. But she still didn't want to believe that there were really men in the world who didn't want to have a son. You just got married, just wait. Nothing will never change. Didn't Zhou Tianzhu treat her very well at the beginning?
But what about now?
He had never given her a good look since she gave birth to 3 daughters. Seeing her unwilling and resentful look, Lin Wanshu wanted to laugh. Don't worry about us in the future. Whether it's a boy or a girl, I can eat egg cakes by myself. If you have the leisure time, you should pay more attention to yourself. Lin Wanshu certainly knew that people's hearts would not remain unchanged forever, but at least at this moment his feelings for her were sincere. And she was willing to let herself invest in the feelings at this moment. Even if love deteriorated one day in the future, it didn't matter. She had the ability and confidence to bear the consequences. Even if there was no space, her business ability and medical skills were enough to allow herself and her children to live a rich life that ordinary people could not imagine. Huang Fengying looked at the confident and powerful woman in front of her, and suddenly, she felt like a clown. Huang Fengying left in a daze. Hu Indi wanted to say something, but when she met Qin Yan's lukewarm eyes, those words were stuck in her throat. He clearly didn't say anything, but Hu Indi felt her legs and feet trembling for no reason. At this moment, she clearly realized that she seemed to have offended the battalion commander with whom her son had repeatedly told her to maintain a good relationship. After the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law left, Qin Yan nodded to Yu Fengfeng. Hello, sister-in-law. Yu Fangfang. Hello. Hee. Hello.
Ku.
What a strong rascal. Even her old Feng is not so intimidating. Is this the strength of one person to annihilate 5 enemies and rescue his comrades? It's powerful, but it's also really intimidating. Lin Wanshu looked so delicate and weak. How dare she live with such a man? Just thinking about this, she saw the man who had a cold face just now. When his eyes fell on Lin Wanshu, his whole body was like an iceberg melting. Yu Fangfang. Well, she doesn't need to worry about it. Well, Wan, my husband may be back, so I won't stay here any longer. Knowing that she was just a big light bulb here, Yu Fangfang tactfully said goodbye. Since she had said so, Lin Wanshu naturally couldn't keep her. But she had to pack the peanut candies she had promised. Wait a minute, I'll get you some peanut candies. As she said that, Lin Wanshu took out a bulging oil paper bag from the cupboard. Then, she took out a handful of milk candies from the bag of milk candies just now, and handed the remaining oil paper bag to Yu Fangfang. I don't want milk candies. How can you take something back after giving it away? Yu Fangfang refused to take the bag. Hurry up and take it. Why should I accept such a big bag of milk candies from you? Take it home and give it to Jianxi. Seeing that she seemed to be trying to learn from those aunties and push it back and forth with her, Yu Fangfang's face changed. She quickly snatched the oil paper bag from her hand, picked up Feng Jianxi, and ran to the door. I'm going back. I'll come and play with you tomorrow. As long as she runs fast, no one can give her anything. Lin Wanshu was still holding the bag of candy in her hand. She looked at the mother and son who had already run out of the door, and her whole body was a little messy. Feng Jianxi was carried away by his mother before he had enough fun with his sister. When he came to his senses, he struggled with his hands and feet. Mom, let me go, I want to find my sister. But what responded to him was a loud slap from his own mother. What are you looking for? Didn't you see that your uncle has something to say to your aunt? Can't you be a little more considerate? I don't know who you took after this silly look. It's really worrying. The mother and son just ran back to the door of their house and ran into Feng Yandong, who was covered in dirt. Feng Yandong, you're so good. Why did you come back just now? Do you want to starve us mother and son to death? Putting down her son, Yu Fangfang put her hands on her hips and glared at her man. Feng Yandong looked at the cake crumbs still left at the corner of her mouth and felt angry and helpless. Hey Yu Fangfang, where did you go to find food just now? You didn't even wipe your mouth? Yu Fangfang. I was careless. She reached out and wiped her mouth randomly, her round eyes full of guilt. That's different. Egg cake is not a full meal. Anyway, you starved me, you have to compensate me. At the end, she straightened her back again. That's right, he was starving himself, and if he didn't compensate, this matter would not end. Feng Yandong. Tell me, what do you want this time? Hearing this, Yu Fangfang's round eyes blinked and wandered around, just refusing to meet the man's eyes. After a while, she stammered, Milk. Milk candy. Hearing these words, Feng Yandong's forehead veins popped out. Yu Fangfang. He shouted with some gritted teeth. Yu Fangfang stood up reflexively. Here. Feng Yandong was almost laughed at by her. You ate all the 4 pounds of milk candy? Do you still want your teeth? What kind of wife did he marry? Why is she like a child? Seeing that he seemed to be furious, Yu Fangfang dared not mention milk candy?
No.
Forget it. Stingy, she said with a guilty conscience, and didn't dare to stay any longer. She ran away. Feng Yandong. Inhaling and exhaling, after trying to calm himself down, Feng Yandong looked at his son beside him. Jianxi, tell me, how did you eat the milk candy? It's only been half a month and she ate 4 pounds of milk candy. She is really capable. Hearing this, Feng Jianxi began to think seriously. Mom eats 1 in the morning, 2 at noon and 1 in the afternoon, and I only have 1 a day.
He was not convinced.
He was obviously the child. Why did his mother eat more candy than him? Feng Jianxi didn't say a word about the bag of milk candy his mother had just given away. Don't think he doesn't know that the bag of candy was secretly sent by his mother and his great-grandfather. Sure enough, just after he finished speaking, he successfully saw an angry expression on his father's face. Feng Jianxi, who had retired after his success, quietly slipped away. In the house next door, Lin Wanshu put the bag of candy back into the cupboard. She planned to make some other cakes for Feng and Feng Jianxi next time. But she had just put it away, and when she turned her head, she met Qin Yan's deep eyes. Lin Wanshu, why don't you sit down? Your legs are not healed yet. Can't you stand for too long? As she said, she reached out and helped him to sit down next to the table. But just as she helped him sit down, the next second, she was hugged and sat next to him. What's wrong? Noticing that he was in a wrong mood, Lin Wanshu did not resist and sat down next to him obediently. Qin Yan lowered his eyes and could meet the woman's starry eyes. She was obviously in his arms, but he always felt uneasy in his heart, especially the way she was talking to Zhou Tianju's wife just now. It was as if she could withdraw from his world at any time. The veins on his hands bulged, and Qin Yan's heart seemed to be rubbed repeatedly by an invisible little hand, sore, swollen, and panicked, and he didn't know what it felt like. It's okay, Qin Yan said, but his voice was inexplicably hoarse. Lin Wanshu could vaguely feel his uneasiness, and suddenly remembered the thoughts that flashed through her mind when she was talking to Huang Fengying just now.
She was a little surprised.
He was so sharp, but she didn't intend to explain anything. A journey of 1,000 miles can reveal a person's true character. No matter how many promises she made, they were just pale words. Only by continuing to walk, she would know what kind of story would be written between them. Patting his hand, she opened her red lips slightly and raised a charming smile. I made egg cakes. They're delicious. Do you want to try them? The woman's voice was gentle as water, but her beautiful eyes were like hooks, making people's hearts itch. His hands tightened unconsciously, and the soft body just leaned against his arms. Qin Yan's messy heart was finally calmed down a little. He sighed, paused, and then spoke. Yes. No matter what she was thinking, since she chose to enter his world, he would never allow her to leave. That afternoon, several military wives came to the house, and they did not come empty-handed. They either brought some specialties from their hometowns, or brought some vegetables or beans. After all, there are only a few eccentrics. In one afternoon, she did not meet people like the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law again. Lin Wanshu was a businessman in her previous life, so she was naturally impeccable in dealing with people. After a heated chat, several military wives and her changed from being unfamiliar sisters-in-law to calling each other by name. When leaving, adhering to the principle of give and take, Lin Wanshu still returned the gift to each military wife. When everyone left, the sun was about to set. Lin Wanshu cooked dinner with the ingredients sent by the military wives. After eating, she boiled a large pot of water. In order to boil water for bathing, she bought a separate pot. In those days, materials were scarce, and most families used the same pot for bathing, drinking water, and cooking. But no matter how clean the cooking pot was, there would still be oil spots. Lin Wanshu didn't like it, so she bought another one. These money and bills were naturally given to her by Qin Yan when she was hospitalized. After all, she didn't have much money on the surface. As for how she spent money, Qin Yan did as he said during the day, and didn't ask at all. After the water was boiled, Lin Wanshu first filled a kettle with water. Then she drew water for herself and the baby to bathe. The weather was very hot, and one pot of water could fill the kettle and bathe 3 people, which was no problem at all. Qin Yan used to take cold showers even in the winter. But his wound had not healed completely yet, so Lin Wanshu didn't let him take cold showers. She fetched a bucket of water, mixed it with warm water, and carried it into the shower room. Lin Wanshu turned around and asked, "Do you need help?" Perhaps because she had wiped his body too much, she was now calmer. "No, I can do it myself." Qin Yan didn't want her to see her in such a mess, so he decisively refused. "Okay, call me if you need anything." She had already moved a stool to the shower room, so it shouldn't be a problem. The baby was still waiting for her to coax him to sleep in the room, so Lin Wanshu left after giving her instructions. In the room, the little guy had already been lying on the bed, holding his little doll and babbling, and no one knew what he was saying. When she saw Lin Wanshu coming back, her eyes lit up. She threw the doll away, got up from the bed, and stumbled towards her mother.
Mom.
She smiled brightly, with her little mouth with only 8 teeth. But her mother reached out and patted her little ace. Meow meow, you can't throw things around. You have to put away the dolls you don't play with, okay? Looking at the confused baby, Lin Wanshu demonstrated by putting the doll back to its original position. But the little one was obviously sleepy and had no patience to listen to her mother's teachings. Nei, she hummed while reaching out to lift her mother's clothes. When she was in the hospital before, Lin Wanshu saw that she accepted the bottle so easily and naively thought that it would be easy to stop breastfeeding. But not long after, she was slapped in the face. After the initial novelty, the baby soon didn't care about the bottle and insisted on breastfeeding. Especially at night, if she didn't feed, she would cry all the time. Lin Wanshu was afraid of disturbing other patients, so she had to compromise and feed formula during the day and breastfeed at night. Not long after, little Meow Meow also got used to this feeding method. Now it was time to go to bed at night, and regardless of anything, the baby got into her arms and started to make a fuss about drinking milk. Lin Wanshu saw that this was not going to work. If she couldn't stop breastfeeding in the hospital, would she have to continue breastfeeding at home? How long would it take to stop breastfeeding? Thinking of this, she was ready to appeal to the little guy's emotions and reason. But what responded to her was the baby's increasingly impatient whining.
Nene.
Seeing that her mother didn't give her anything, little Meow Meow's mouth was pouting, and it looked like she was preparing for a big one. Lin Wanshu's scalp suddenly went numb. Meow Meow, you've grown up and can't drink milk anymore. Can mommy make some milk for you? She picked up the little one and soothed him gently. Woo wow, Nei, probably because she knew her mother would not feed her, the baby burst into tears. That piercing voice echoed throughout the neighbors. Lin Wanshu felt terrible. But weaning was imminent, and she really didn't want to breastfeed her today. Just like that, one wanted to drink and the other didn't, and the baby cried even louder. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. Wanshu, what's the matter? Why is your Meow Meow crying like this? It was Wang Chunling, the military wife behind the house. Lin Wanshu quickly picked up the baby and went to open the door. It's okay, Chunling. I'm trying to wean her off from milk, but she won't. Hearing this, Wang Chunling breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How can you wean her like this? Apply some bitter melon water on her tomorrow, and she won't eat it. Just feed her today. While saying this, she urged her to feed the baby quickly. Lin Wanshu had no experience in raising a baby and was also overwhelmed by the crying of the little one. Now hearing what Wang Chunling said, she had to go back to the bed again, hurriedly pulled up her clothes and started feeding. As soon as the baby drank milk, he stopped crying immediately. Lin Wanshu was relieved. Wang Chunling also taught her some experience in weaning. Lin Wanshu was very grateful, and she took notes seriously while listening. If you don't understand, ask me tomorrow. After saying that, Wang Chunling went out without staying for long, and helped her close the door. Lin Wanshu was scared by Meow Meow's crying just now, and now she learned a little experience, so she was not so anxious. She fed her while patting her to coax her. The little one probably didn't get milk to drink just now, so she without any strength. Not long after, Lin Wanshu felt very painful. Meow Meow, be gentle. Lin Wanshu patted the little ace and warned with a frown. But the baby was very impatient when he was disturbed. He kicked around with one foot, and his mouth was like a suction cup. Hiss! At a certain moment, a sharp pain came, and Lin Wanshu couldn't help but gasp. Without caring about feeding, she pinched Xiao Meow Meow's nose and forced her to open her mouth. The baby finally opened her mouth. Lin Wanshu held it up and looked down, and a drop of red liquid dripped from the top. It was bitten and bleeding. At this moment, the door was also pushed open. As soon as Qin Yan entered the room, he walked by the scene in front of him, and his mind was blank for a moment. But soon, his reason was pulled back by the red color. Meow Meow bit you again? Not caring about the pain in his leg, he strode forward. Lin Wanshu never thought that he would come back at this time. Before she even had time to put her hand down, the man had already walked in front of her. Their eyes met. Bang. Her face felt like it was burned. It was very hot. Although the two had confirmed their feelings for each other, this was still a bit beyond Lin Wanshu's acceptance.
No.
It's okay. She tried to pull down the bleeding clothes in a hurry, but was stopped by the man. You need to apply medicine. You can't wear it directly. What if it gets infected? Lin Wanshu wanted to say no, but as soon as the fallen clothes touched the wound, her face turned pale with pain. Hiss. Hearing the cry of pain, Qin Yan no longer cared whether he would scare her, and quickly reached out and carefully rolled up the clothes. Lin Wanshu didn't expect him to do this, and she felt terrible. I'll wipe it myself later. She stretched out her hand to cover the injured area, and she said shyly and anxiously, "Wan, we are husband and wife." Qin Yan's mind is now full of her bleeding image. How can he have any romantic thoughts? Little Miao Miao didn't know that she was in trouble. When she saw that her mother didn't feed her, she started to whimper again. Seeing that the culprit was still making trouble, Qin Yan didn't indulge her. "Miao Miao, you have grown up and can't drink your mother's milk anymore," he said to the baby with a serious face, obviously feeling distressed that his wife was bitten like that. The little girl couldn't understand what the adults were saying, but she could understand the expressions. Seeing that her father's face was not right, she didn't dare to say anything. Seeing that the baby was frightened, Lin Wanshu didn't care about how embarrassed she was now. She reached out and patted the baby on the back and glared at the man. "Do and scare her." Qin Yan. Suddenly, he felt that having a baby was not a pleasant thing. He hadn't even had time to get warm with his wife, and there was a little light bulb. And this little light bulb bit his wife. Finally, with a helpless sigh, he took out a box of ointment and a cotton swab from the bedside drawer. "Apply the medicine first. I'll make milk to feed her later." As he spoke, he dipped some ointment on a cotton swab and began to gently apply it to her wound. His movements were gentle but powerful, leaving her no chance to resist. Lin Wanshu's face was so red that it was about to bleed. She wanted to fight for the right to apply the ointment herself, but was rejected by the man again. Seeing how domineering he was, Lin Wanshu knew that it was useless to protest, so she could only give up and let him apply it to the wound. However, as soon as the cool ointment was applied to the wound, Lin Wanshu couldn't help but tremble. A feeling that was hard to describe, whether it was pain or something, spread from the wound, and her face became hotter and hotter. Not daring to look at how shameful the scene was, she turned her head away. But she couldn't see that the touch of the cotton swab was becoming clearer and clearer. As she trembled, the man's eyes began to become hot, and even his breath was frighteningly heavy. The extreme ambiguity between a man and a woman made Lin Wanshu feel tingling all over. I don't know how long it took, but her white clothes were gently pulled down.
Okay.
The man's voice was hoarse. Lin Wanshu's eyes were full of water. She didn't dare to look up at him. She responded softly.
Yeah.
There seemed to be an invisible undercurrent surging in the quiet room. Although the application of medicine had stopped, the ambiguous atmosphere had never dissipated. "I'll go make milk for her." After putting the medicine away, Qin Yan took the bottle and went out. I don't know if it's because a new herb was added to the medicine at noon, but Qin Yan's walking posture is much more natural at this moment. If you don't look carefully, you would never think that his leg was almost amputated. The new herb was naturally planted in the space. Although it might be discovered by Qin Yan, Lin Wanshu was not as defensive against him as she was at the beginning. After all, they have to face each other day and night, and a lifetime is so long, it is unlikely that there will be no clues. But she still kept a backup plan. Even if the worst happens, she can take Miao Miao away from here. I don't know how long it took. Qin Yan came back from outside with a bottle of milk. The little guy didn't know if it was because of what his father said just now. Although he was still humming, he didn't cry loudly. Qin Yan picked up the boiled water on the table and mixed it with warm water, and then poured the milk powder into the bowl like Lin Wanshu. "You don't need so much, just a flat spoon." Seeing him fill a full spoon, Lin Wanshu reminded him quickly. Hearing this, Qin Yan put less in the second spoon. "Is this okay?" He turned his head and asked. Under the dim light, the man's strong features were a little softer. Although he was not very good at making milk, he was so serious, as if he was doing some scientific research experiment. Lin Wanshu's lips unconsciously spread out a smile, and there seemed to be stars flowing in her watery eyes. Well, that's about it. The soft voice sounded like honey, and Qin Yan felt his heart itchy when he heard it. Okay. The movement of his hands paused slightly, and he continued to add milk powder to the bowl. The next step is to stir it and put it into the bottle. Qin Yan has been serving in the army, and most of his time is spent on various training. It stands to reason that he should not be able to do such delicate work, but surprisingly, when pouring milk, he did not let a single drop leak out of such a small bottle mouth. Lin Wanshu just watched him pour the milk and put on the. From being unfamiliar at the beginning, he became more and more handy later. After the milk powder was prepared, Lin Wanshu stretched out her hand to him.
Give it to me.
But Qin Yan avoided it and did not let her take over. Let me try to feed it. After saying that, he pretended to take the baby. Hearing what he said, Lin Wanshu did not force it and put the baby in his arms and then adjusted the position. It will be more comfortable to hold her like this. In fact, a child of this age could have drunk by herself a long time ago, but because Lin Wanshu planned to wean her off from milk, she held her and fed her. This was the first time Qin Yan fed a baby, and his movements were inevitably a little clumsy, so he let her do whatever she wanted. Fortunately, the little baby is a coward who only bullies the weak and fears the strong. She was crying and fussing for milk just now, but now she is in her father's hands, and she is no longer making a fuss. When the pacifier is put into her mouth, although she is still a little reluctant, she still gulps down. Lin Wanshu. It seems that she doesn't even need bitter melon. I guess she can quit drinking it by letting her father take care of it. Xiao Miao Miao must be really sleepy. After drinking a bottle of milk, she fell into a deep sleep. Lin Wanshu gently took the bottle away. Seeing that she didn't wake up, she went out to wash the bottle quietly. It was dark outside, but fortunately the light from the room was dim enough to see the road. She rinsed the bottle and baby with water before returning to the house. There are many mosquitoes here, and the family compound is also equipped with mosquito nets. At this moment, the heavy mosquito net has been put down, and two breathing sounds, one deep and one shallow, sounded in the quiet house. Lin Wanshu suddenly realized that they would sleep in the same bed tonight. The thought flashed through her mind, and her heartbeat was beating like a drum. But then, she suppressed this strange emotion. They were a normal couple, and it was normal to sleep in the same bed. She had to get used to it. After preparing herself mentally, Lin Wanshu calmly turned off the light. After the dim light went out, the room fell into darkness. This era was not like the later generations where there were lights everywhere. If there were no moon and stars at night in the countryside, the room would be pitch dark. Fortunately, everything in the room was neatly put away by her, so she was not afraid of being tripped by anything. But even so, Lin Wanshu still walked with 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow. After finally touching the edge of the bed, she found that the man's breathing was even and long. It seemed that he had fallen asleep. Lin Wanshu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief quietly. After a pause, she climbed onto the bed lightly. The beds of this era were basically made of wood, and there was no mattress. A cool mat was directly placed on the bedboard. The bed wasn't very wide. Lin Wanshu had seen it during the day, and it wasn't even 1.5 meters wide. According to the standard of beds in this era, it should be about 1.35 meters wide. It would have been difficult to sleep a family of 3 with such a small width, and Qin Yan was tall. After Lin Wanshu lay down, she realized that she could only sleep next to him. Otherwise, there would be no room. Xiao Miao Miao was not in the middle, so she guessed that she was placed inside. Although she had guessed that with his overbearing personality, he would definitely arrange it like this. But after lying next to him, Lin Wanshu found that she still couldn't calm down. Especially the man's presence was too strong, and the fresh breath mixed with soapberry lingered in her nostrils. Just like him, he was full of aggression. This also gave Lin Wanshu a clear understanding. Next to him was a normal man, not the useless Zhao Mingyuan. Seeing that her heartbeat could not calm down, Lin Wanshu gritted her teeth and simply probed her consciousness into the space. During the time when Qin Yan was hospitalized, Lin Wanshu actually studied the prescription in the space every night. Although the 2 patches of medicine were effective, they were too troublesome to use. Lin Wanshu wanted to try to combine the 2 into one, and it would be best if they could be applied directly to achieve the same effect. Although the prescription had been handed over long ago, how the army used it had little to do with her. But she still hoped to make it simpler and more convenient so that the soldiers' chances of survival could be greatly improved. Lin Wanshu dove into the medical book and soon calmed down her blushing heartbeat. She was holding an ancient medical book, and the 2 prescriptions were also from it. It was unknown when this book was passed down, and the characters on it were in traditional Chinese. If she still had only junior high school education like in this life, she would definitely not be able to understand it. But in her previous life, her business grew bigger, and she found that she was at a disadvantage without education, so she spent a few years studying while doing business. Although it was only the adult college entrance examination, at least she had learned the culture of high school and university thoroughly. She later learned traditional Chinese characters specifically in order to learn the content of the space. Lin Wanshu had memorized this ancient medical book by heart. She was now combining it with other materials to see if she could improve the prescription. Fortunately, she had plenty of money in her previous life, and the laboratory was not only equipped with advanced and complete equipment, but also had all kinds of materials. It can be said that her research efficiency was even higher than that of national-level research laboratories in this era. After reading this, Lin Wanshu didn't know how long it had been before she fell into a deep sleep. When she opened her eyes again, she found that the pillow under her head felt a little wrong. It was not the softness of rice husks, but it seemed like steel wrapped in warm texture, hard and a little bit uncomfortable. This discovery made Lin Wanshu's blurred consciousness suddenly sober up. When she looked up, she saw a handsome face with firm lines. Her hands and feet were still on him. Lin Wanshu. It turned out that what she hugged in her dream yesterday was not a pillow, but a man. When Lin Wanshu thought about her bad sleeping posture, she felt bad. After swallowing her saliva, she saw that he didn't seem to be awake yet, so she gently raised her hands and legs, intending to leave him without anyone noticing. However, she had just moved less than 10 centimeters away when she felt the man's arm, which was pressed under her, tighten. The next second, she was hugged into that broad embrace. Lin Wanshu, who was unprepared, was frightened and screamed, "Wife, why don't you sleep a little longer?" Qin Yan's low voice sounded in her ears with a strong sense of sleepiness. The man was tall and straight, with a strong and powerful body. Just a gentle hug made her powerless to resist. The male hormone smell was full of aggression, as if it was going to swallow her up. The extreme difference between men and women made Lin Wanshu feel extremely dangerous, but her heartbeat skipped a beat uncontrollably. "It's dawn. I want to get up." Before she finished speaking, Lin Wanshu suddenly realized that her voice was too delicate. It was as if she was unconsciously acting coquettishly towards him. In response to her, the man smiled dotingly. "It's still early. The wake-up call hasn't even sounded yet. Sleep a little longer." As he spoke, he pressed her little head to his chest with one hand and gently patted her back with the other hand. Perhaps because he had just woken up, his voice was a little hoarse. The magnetic whisper just drilled into her ears, and Lin Wanshu felt that her ears were almost numb. If she hadn't had a trace of reason, she would have indulged in his male beauty. Biting her lip, Lin Wanshu gently pushed the man's chest again. "Then I have to get up and boil water for Meow Meow. She will wake up soon. Let go." After feeding the baby, washing clothes, and eating breakfast, she still had to go to the fields with the military wives. Hearing this, Qin Yan sighed slightly. After a pause, he reluctantly let go of the sweet and soft little woman in his arms. Finally free, Lin Wanshu turned over and got off the bed. It was about 5 in the morning, and the room was dark. I don't know what medicine Qin Yan applied to her yesterday, but after one night, it didn't hurt much anymore. Lin Wanshu walked to another table, picked up the enamel cup and the bottle, and quietly opened the door and went out. In the yard, it was already dawn. Although the army's wake-up call had not yet sounded, there were ding-ding-ding-bang-bang sounds coming from the houses in front and behind the house. As soon as I heard it, I knew that other military wives had gotten up to cook. Military wives who don't go to work are actually no different from those at home. They all have to get up early and go to work in the fields. Lin Wanshu just walked into the kitchen and hadn't washed the bottle when she heard Hu Indi's angry scolding from the room in front. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Why don't you sleep to death? What time is it? Why don't you get up to wash clothes and cook? Huang Fengying of the Zhou family had severe leg cramps and pain last night, and she didn't sleep well all night. She was scared when she heard her mother-in-law's scolding in a daze. She was about to get up, but her waist seemed to be cracked, and it hurt to move. The later she got into the pregnancy, the harder it was for her to sleep. With her big belly, it was uncomfortable to sleep on either side. She finally fell asleep, but when she got up, she felt pain all over again. She looked helplessly at the man who was still sleeping soundly next to her.
Tianju.
Huang Fengying called out softly, hoping that he could get up and help her. But the man seemed to have not heard it at all, and was still sleeping soundly. The scolding of the mother-in-law outside was getting more and more unpleasant. Huang Fengying was afraid that she would be beaten when she went out later, so she had no choice but to reach out and push Zhou Tianju. Tianju, can you get up and help me? Mom called me to get up. Huang Fengying pleaded humbly. But the man who was disturbed was very impatient. You are the only one who has too many things to do. Which woman doesn't get pregnant? Why can't others be as hypocritical as you? After saying that, he didn't intend to get up and help her. Zhou Tianju turned over and continued to sleep. There were 3 small figures curled up in the corner of the bed. Zhou Tianju turned over and didn't know which one he kicked. He only heard a wow sound, and the room was immediately drowned by the crying of children. Cry, cry, cry. Why are you crying?
Jinx.
I should have thrown you all into the bucket and drowned you. Outside the door, Hu Indi saw that Huang Fengying didn't get up for a long time, and she couldn't even take care of a child. Her heart was even more furious. The scolding came, and the crying in the room stopped abruptly. The 3 ragged children sat up with horror on their faces and huddled in the corner of the bed. It was as if they were afraid that their grandmother would get angry and really throw them into the water and drown them. Huang Fengying looked at the girls with messy hair and cowardly expressions, and she couldn't tell what she felt in her heart. Hu Indi really wanted to throw them into the bucket at the beginning, and it was her pleading that saved a few lives. But it is also because of their existence that she is constantly reminded that she is a woman who can only give birth to money-losing things. After so many years, the little maternal love that Huang Fengying had left has long disappeared, leaving only regret and disgust. Why did they have to be born in her belly? If it weren't for them, she would have given birth to a son long ago, and she wouldn't be despised like this.
What are you looking at?
Don't you know how to help your mother? Are you all dead? She looked at the few people with a cold look and cursed. Hearing this, several thin children hurriedly got up. Carefully avoiding Zhou Tianju and walking in front of Huang Fengying, they used all their strength to pull Huang Fengying's hand. But they didn't eat much rice at ordinary times, so where did they get the strength? After a long struggle, they barely pulled Huang Fengying up. Useless money-losing thing. Huang Fengying cursed with gritted teeth, and she opened the door in a panic with her big belly. But as soon as she opened the door, she was greeted by Hu Indi's vicious slap. It's outrageous. I called you for a long time, but you didn't get up. How can you not sleep to death if you are so sleepy? Huang Fengying's face was burning with pain, but she didn't dare to say anything. She was afraid that her mother-in-law would beat her even harder. Just bear it a little longer, and everything will be fine after she gives birth to the son in her belly. Huang Fengying comforted herself like this. Mom, I'm sorry. I will get up early tomorrow. Covering her burning face, she apologized randomly. But Hu Indi was obviously angry, and she put her hands on her waist and scolded for 10 minutes. When she went out, it was already 5:30. With one hand supporting her belly and the other hand carrying a full bucket of clothes, she walked towards the back door of the family compound with difficulty. At that time, Lin Wanshu had just washed the milk bottle and enamel cup, but she didn't know that she would run into Huang Fengying when she went out. When their eyes met, Lin Wanshu was a little embarrassed. Hu Yindi's scolding was too loud just now, and she heard it all even if she didn't want to listen. But even if she didn't say it, Huang Fengying knew that she must have heard it just now. At that moment, she felt extremely ashamed and subconsciously stretched out her hand to cover her face. It seemed that she didn't want her to see that she was beaten. Although Lin Wanshu didn't like Huang Fengying, she didn't have the idea of kicking her when she was down. Seeing that she was avoiding her, she turned around tactfully, holding an enamel cup in one hand and a milk bottle in the other, and walked into the house. Huang Fengying was sharp-eyed and immediately found the milk bottle in her hand. She actually had a milk bottle. That was a milk bottle. It was used to feed infants and young children with milk powder. She had only seen it at Du Fuling's house. Du Fuling came from High City, and her family conditions were one of the best in the family compound. She had a good family background and was a decent person. She didn't want to breastfeed her child for fear of affecting her figure, so she fed her directly with milk powder. She heard from other military wives that a bag of ordinary milk powder costs 5 yuan and a better one costs 6 or 7 yuan. A child can eat 4 or 5 bags a month, and the money for milk powder alone can be equal to an ordinary worker's monthly salary. She was willing to buy such an expensive thing, and she bought it for a little girl. This also indirectly confirmed what the man said. He really let her squander his hard-earned money at will. When she thought about the fact that when her milk was insufficient, the 3 daughters in the family not only couldn't drink milk powder, but even didn't have rice soup, she felt like she was soaked in acid water. How unfair is God? Why is it that she has a daughter, but she lives worse than mud? In the room, Qin Yan also got up and was sitting on the edge of the bed. Why don't you sleep more? Lin Wanshu asked with some surprise. His leg hasn't healed yet, and even if it healed, he would have to rest for a while before training. I couldn't sleep, so I got up. After waking up, Qin Yan felt that his leg seemed to have gotten a lot better. The recovery speed was so fast that he was a little scared. I don't know if it was an illusion, but since the first day he drank the medicine she cooked, Qin Yan felt that his 5 senses were getting sharper and sharper. So much so that he found something wrong as soon as he tasted the medicine yesterday. Since taking the medicine, he has not felt much pain in his left leg. Qin Yan has a feeling that at this rate, his leg will be completely healed in a few days. It is said that it takes 100 days to heal a broken bone. His leg, which was originally to be amputated, has recovered in less than a month. How could he not be shocked? But after the shock, Qin Yan was worried again. Although he didn't know what her secret was, he instinctively wanted to cover it up for her. Don't let people know that he recovered so quickly. Lin Wanshu didn't know that Qin Yan's leg was almost healed, and seeing that he refused to sleep, she didn't say anything. She poured a glass of water and put it on the table to dry. She walked to the bed, pulled up the mosquito net on one side, and hung it on the hook. Qin Yan happened to be sitting on the edge of the bed. She raised her feet and almost half leaned on him. With the warm and soft jade in front of him, how could Qin Yan care about his legs? Summer clothes are thin. When she raised her hand, the soft fabric gently stuck to her body, and her already exquisite figure became more curvy. The rich, warm fragrance and the subtle touch reminded Qin Yan of the torment he had gone through last night. But the woman seemed to have no idea what she had done. After hanging the mosquito net on the side, she left gracefully. After hanging the mosquito nets on both sides, Lin Wanshu said, "The water is already hanging there. When she wakes up, take her to and make milk for her to drink." She made an appointment with Ji Hualan to go wash clothes together later. Seeing that his legs seemed to be fine, Lin Wanshu didn't bother to be polite and directly assigned him the task. Qin Yan listened to her detailed explanation without a trace of impatience on his face and nodded seriously. "Okay, I know." Knowing that he was calm and reliable, Lin Wanshu didn't worry about anything. After the explanation, she went out. The sun rises early in summer. It was just after 5 o'clock, and the sky was already white. Lin Wanshu picked up the bucket of dirty clothes, took out a soap, and went out. Ji Hualan said that the place to wash clothes is in a small river near the family compound. Although the family compound does not need to fetch water, everyone thinks that washing clothes in the river is cleaner, and generally no one washes at home. Lin Wanshu came to the door of Ji Hualan's house with a bucket. But before she could call, she saw Ji Hualan coming out of the shower room with a bucket. "Wanshu, why are you here so early? I was going to find you," she asked with some surprise. "I was afraid that I would not have a good position if I was late, so I got up early." Generally, you have to find a suitable stone to wash clothes by the river, but there are limited stones, and you can only occupy a good position if you go early. Ji Hualan obviously suffered from not occupying a position. After hearing what she said, she didn't say anything more and walked out of the door quickly with the bucket. "Let's go. I know which position is the most comfortable for washing clothes. While it's still early, let's go early." Lin Wanshu had just arrived and didn't even know where the river was. She decided to follow Ji Hualan all day today. The two of them walked side by side, talking and laughing, all the way to the back door of the family compound. "Hey, Wanshu, how did you make the egg cake yesterday? My two kids made a fuss all night after eating it and insisted that I make it for them today." She also tasted a small bite of yesterday's egg cake, and the taste was simply amazing. Fragrant, sweet, soft, and dense. Not only did the children like to eat it, but even she, an adult, was craving it. In this era, business cannot be done, and anyone who has a specialty is basically willing to share it with others. Anyway, there is no loss, and it can also bring each other closer, so why not? Lin Wanshu naturally had no intention of hiding it. She wasn't planning to do business anyway. "This is very simple. I'll teach you when you want to do it." Seeing her so generous, Ji Hualan liked her even more. The two men were originally partners, and as family members, it would be great if they could get along well. Before she came to the family compound, Ji Hualan was a little worried that she wouldn't get along with her. Unexpectedly, she was young, but she could be so thoughtful in everything. In return, Ji Hualan naturally told her about the situation of each family in the family compound without reservation. Before reaching the river, Lin Wanshu had a better understanding of the family compound. The focus was on Huang Fengying and her mother-in-law. It is said that there must be something hateful about pitiful people. At the beginning, we all advised her not to give her job to her sister-in-law. Guess what? They also said that we were provoking the relationship between her and her mother-in-law. She was a military wife in the city, and she still had a job. Marrying Zhou Tianzhu from the countryside was already marrying down, so why should she be so wronged? But she felt guilty and sorry for the Zhou family. No matter how they persuaded her, she was determined to give the job to her sister-in-law. She thought that by doing so, her mother-in-law would at least remember her and treat her better. But she didn't expect that after she lost her job and gave birth to 3 daughters, she was either beaten or scolded by her mother-in-law every day, living like a young wife in the old society. Lin Wanshu didn't comment too much on Huang Fengying's experience. It was someone else's business, and it had nothing to do with her. After going out the back door, less than 100 meters away was the small river where they usually washed clothes. "Our land is over there, and we also draw water here to grow vegetables. It's very convenient." Ji Hualan pointed to the right. Lin Wanshu looked in the direction of her hand, and sure enough, she saw a large green vegetable field. Looking at the green vegetables growing well, she felt a little itchy and wished she could open a field later. "That's the field. We'll be able to harvest rice in a few days." Ji Hualan pointed to the golden rice field in the distance. Both the vegetable field and the field are on both sides of the river, so watering is indeed very convenient. Ji Hualan was pointing out the place where Lin Wanshu would be farming in the future, when suddenly, a voice full of resentment came from behind her. "Wanwan, why didn't you call me when you were washing clothes?" Seeing that it was Yu Fengfeng, Ji Hualan was a little shocked. I don't know whether she was shocked that she came to wash clothes, or shocked that she called Lin Wanshu so intimately. Unable to help, Ji Hualan asked, "Wanshu, do you know Comrade Yu Fengfeng? Otherwise, how could she, a person with high eyes, be so close to Lin Wanshu?" Hearing this, Yu Fengfeng rolled her eyes. We met yesterday, so why are you allowed to be close to Wanwan, but I am not allowed to be close to me? After saying that, she stood on the other side of Lin Wanshu with a bucket. If you don't know, you might think she is jealous. Lin Wanshu felt helpless and amused. I didn't know you got up so early, so I didn't call you. Hearing this, Yu Fangfang's face flashed a trace of discomfort, and then she straightened her chest and said, "That was in the past. I will get up very early in the future. Remember to call me when you wash clothes in the morning."
Yihualan.
What medicine did she take wrong? Or is the sun about to rise from the west? Who doesn't know who Yu Fangfang is? She said she liked to wash clothes at home, but in the end it was discovered that Feng Yandong secretly washed her clothes in the shower room at night. However, although she was shocked, Ji Hualon naturally would not refuse her to wash clothes with them. After passing through the winding path, they arrived at the river in a short while. The stream was quite wide, and the water flow was relatively gentle. There were large and small irregular stones on both sides of the river. Those flat stones were probably washed every day, and their surfaces had been smoothed. When they arrived, there were already several military wives washing clothes on the stone beach. Huang Fengying was among them. She was sitting on a stone, holding a pair of gloves in one hand and a mallet in the other, beating the clothes in front of her. Her big belly trembled with her movements. "Fengying, what's wrong with your face? Did your mother-in-law hit you?" Yang Zheng looked at her red and swollen right face, and couldn't help asking with concern. Hearing this, Huang Fengying subconsciously turned her head away and stammered, "No. Why would my mother-in-law hit me? I accidentally hit the wall last night." But no one believed her words. What kind of injury could leave a palm print? "Fengying, don't be afraid. If you were really beaten, just tell us, and we will help you find the Women's Federation." "That's right, after all, you are a pregnant woman. How could they hit you?" The military wives were concerned about each other, but Huang Fengying felt that they were pitying herself when she heard it. Aren't they just sympathizing with her for giving birth to so many daughters? Why pretend to care about her? She doesn't need it at all. Enough. Huang Fengying interrupted the military wives with a humiliated expression. "I said, the wound on my face was caused by myself. It has nothing to do with my mother-in-law. You don't need to sow discord here. As long as she gave birth to the son in her belly, her mother-in-law would see her goodness. Why should I offend her for a group of outsiders?" Unexpectedly, my concern was regarded as sowing discord again, and the military wives' faces turned bad. It felt like my kindness was taken for granted. "We are meddling in other people's business. Since you say it's not, then it's not," Yang Zheng said with a chilly face. Others also shut up and made up their minds in their hearts that they would never care about her family's mess again. Ji Hualon, who was always enthusiastic, unexpectedly did not say a word this time. She also winked at Lin Wanshu with an expression of "see what she is right." Lin Wanshu, who knew the truth, looked at Huang Fengying with a red and swollen face, still trying her best to defend her mother-in-law, and it was hard to describe. Yu Fangfang has always been a person who can't keep her mouth shut. She watched the whole process and couldn't help but said in a sarcastic tone, "Not everyone knows what's good for them. You treat her well, but people think you want to frame her." Being ridiculed, Huang Fengying's face turned pale and blue, which was very ugly. The other military wives saw Yu Fangfang for the first time, and they were all shocked. "Yu Fangfang, the sun is rising from the west today? You actually came to wash clothes too?" As she spoke, Yang Zheng looked at the sun that was about to rise in the sky with suspicion. "I think it's probably that Deputy Commander Feng can't stand her and won't wash clothes for her, right?" Du Fuling, who had just carried a bucket to the river, said with a gloating look on his face. Although they were all from the city, she and Yu Fangfang were the worst at getting along. Seeing that she might be disliked by men, she felt as happy as eating iced watermelon in June. But Yu Fangfang was not annoyed at all when she heard this. "At least my man is willing to wash my clothes, unlike some people who claim to be from Haishur and are superior to others, but have to wash their own clothes every day." Although it was true that Feng Yandong was angry with her, she dared to guarantee that he would wash her clothes again in a few days. Although Yu Fangfang is arrogant and stubborn on weekdays, she will be very aggressive when facing Du Fuling. Sure enough, these words directly hit Du Fuling's lungs. When she first knew that Feng Yandong helped Yu Fangfang wash clothes every day, she was unwilling to be compared, so she wanted her man to help her wash. But who knew that he not only did not help, but also said that if she couldn't bear the hardship, she should go back to Haishur. How could Du Fuling dare to go back in this chaos? In the end, she had to pinch her nose and apologize. Originally, she thought that the matter was exposed, but she never thought that the couple's words were heard by others. And she went directly from being an arrogant Haishur person to a laughingstock in the family compound. Yu Fangfang hit her sore spot at the moment. She was so angry, but she couldn't refute it. The others saw it, and they all had an expression of trying hard to suppress the corners of their mouths, and they had no intention of helping. Although they were also arrogant, Yu Fangfang was not aggressive. As long as she was not provoked, she generally didn't like to pay attention to others. Unlike Du Fuling, she always showed her superiority, as if they were inferior to her and not even worthy of carrying her shoes. Seeing her being humiliated at this moment, they were so happy that they couldn't wait. So how could anyone help her? When Lin Wanshu and Yu Fangfang were arguing, she and Ji Hualan had already occupied a good position. Seeing that Yu Fangfang had finished arguing, she quickly waved to her. Fangfang, come here, it's spacious here, let's wash together. Hearing that she could wash with her, Yu Fangfang's eyes suddenly lit up, and she didn't care about being angry with Du Fuling, and ran over with her bucket. Where have the others seen her so servile? One by one, their jaws dropped. Who is that person? How come I haven't seen him before? Isn't he so beautiful? Just now, the military wives were busy caring about Huang Fengying and watching Yu Fangfang quarreling. In addition, with Ji Hualan blocking the way, no one noticed Lin Wanshu at all. At this moment, they suddenly saw a fair-skinned and beautiful female comrade waving at Yu Fangfang with a sweet smile, and they couldn't help but be stunned on the spot. I heard that the commander of the 7th Battalion moved into the family compound yesterday. Could it be Qin Yan's wife? Few people didn't know about the great contribution Qin Yan made this time. In addition, he was handsome and was the focus of the family compound. How could they not be curious when they saw someone who was suspected to be his wife? Some people who were impatient asked directly, "Comrade, are you the wife of Battalion Commander Qin?" In this era, there were conditions for following the army. You must be either a deputy battalion commander or above, or have 15 years of military service, or be over 35 years old. Anyway, if you meet one of the above conditions, your family members can apply to follow the army. Therefore, there are dozens of military wives who follow the army in their family compound. Lin Wanshu had just arrived and didn't know many of them. When someone greeted her, she responded generously. "Hey, sister-in-law, I'm Qin Yan's wife. I just came yesterday." Hearing that she was really Qin Yan's wife, the military wives became more curious. "I heard that Battalion Commander Qin's wife looks like a fairy. Today, I see that she is indeed worthy of her reputation." Yang Zhen couldn't help but praise. Before, someone in the family compound wanted to introduce the girl and her family to Qin Yan, but her husband told her not to think about it because she had a sweetheart who looked like a fairy. This word spread everywhere in a few days. It can be said that before Lin Wanshu came to join the army, her reputation had already spread throughout the family compound. Although Lin Wanshu was a little embarrassed to be praised in person, she still looked generous and even praised Yang Zheng a few words in return. She has always believed that sincerity is the ultimate skill, so Yang Zheng felt very happy to hear her words. After a while, the two became familiar with each other. Yu Fangfang didn't expect that just by coming out to wash clothes, Lin Wanshu would provoke another female comrade, and she suddenly felt bad. "Why are you so nice to everyone? Isn't it enough to have her?" Yu Fangfang said resentfully, while beating the clothes hard. That jealous look made Lin Wanshu laugh. After yesterday's interaction, Lin Wanshu also liked Yu Fangfang, who had a childlike nature. Now that she was unhappy, she was willing to coax her. "Then let us catch some snails and take them back. I'll fry them for you after they've been kept for a few days, okay?" When she came down just now, she saw a lot of snails on the edge of the stone. Hearing this, Yu Fangfang's eyes lit up immediately. You said so. Don't lie to me. She looked like she would turn her face away if she dared to lie. I definitely won't lie to you, but you have to help me catch them later. Lin Wanshu directly coaxed her like a child. Ji Hualan, who was standing by, couldn't help but be shocked when she heard what the two said. Yu Fangfang is a foodie, right? No wonder Lin Wanshu had her under control. Wanshu, the snails smell like mud. Can they be delicious if fried? Although Ji Hualan is also a city dweller, she has been with the army for a long time and is not as ignorant as Yu Fangfang. When she heard that Lin Wanshu wanted to fry the snails, she asked with some curiosity. But before Lin Wanshu could respond, a sneer came from the side. TSK. A country bumpkin is a country bumpkin. Du Fuling glanced up and down at Lin Wanshu's simple clothes, her eyes full of superiority. As soon as she finished speaking, before Lin Wanshu could say anything, Yu Fangfang got angry first. Du, who do you say is a country bumpkin? This is really outrageous. When will it be her turn to despise someone that Yu Fangfang admires? You've come to join the army, but you still look like you've never seen the world, and you treat all kinds of garbage as treasures. You actually give people this kind of thing full of mud to eat. What else can you be but a country bumpkin? Du Fuling said, her face full of disgust. But Lin Wanshu, who was ridiculed by her, did not show any inferiority or embarrassment, and she looked calm and composed from beginning to end. I am indeed a country bumpkin with little knowledge, who made my family poor farmers for 8 generations. Seeing her frankness, as if she didn't think there was anything shameful about being poor, Du Fuling couldn't help but choke. The person in front of him was obviously dressed the same as other rural military wives, but her plain clothes could not hide her elegance at all. Her composure made her previous ridicule seem even more ridiculous. Seeing Du Fuling being humiliated, the military wives next to her felt very happy. In the past, every time they met Du Fuling, they felt ashamed of themselves. They thought that she was from Shanghai, had a good family background, and was well-informed, so it was normal for her to look down on them. But now, there are military wives who also came from the countryside who straightened their backs and faced the arrogant people from Shanghai with dignity, and they suddenly felt like they had gained some power. Before Du Fuling could organize her words, someone stood up and glared at her, saying, "How did the country bumpkin give it to you? Without us country bumpkins working the land, would you city people have enough to eat?" That's right. The chairman has said that the poorer you are, the more glorious you are. Who are you looking down on? Look at your behavior. You don't look like one of us proletarians. Could your ancestors be big capitalists? Although they are all military wives from the countryside, they have been influenced by their surroundings over the years, and they also know how to bring a high-ranking city dweller down to earth. Sure enough, Du Fuling's face changed when these words came out. You are slandering me. I am naturally proletarian, and my family are all workers. It would have been better if she didn't explain. After this explanation, the military wives felt that she was guilty. Ji Hualan saw that something was wrong and hurried out to smooth things over. Everyone calm down and listen to me first. Ji Hualan was a person who could get along with both sides. As soon as she spoke, everyone else quieted down. Military marriages all require political review. Since Du Fuling can marry a soldier, it means that there is no problem with her identity. We come from all over the world and have different living habits. Some friction is inevitable, but we can quarrel, but we don't want to make accusations. After all, everyone's men are in the same trench. They are charging in the front, and what does it look like for us to fight in the back? After these words, the military wives who were originally indignant fell silent. Although everyone hated Du Fuling, what Ji Hualan said was right. Their men are brothers in the same trench, and they certainly don't want them to make such a fuss. But not scolding doesn't mean they accept Du Fuling. They rolled their eyes at her one after another, and then they returned to their original positions to continue washing clothes. And Du Fuling, who was almost accused, how dare she say anything? Finally, she had to find a stone in a corner to wash clothes. Seeing that she was scared, Yu Fangfang snorted in disdain and only washed her own clothes today. But Feng Yandong usually washed her clothes, so how could she know how to wash them clean? Seeing that she didn't even apply soap and just beat them, Lin Wanshu was helpless. You have to wet all the clothes, apply soap, rub them, and then beat them. As she said, she demonstrated to her. Yu Fangfang felt bad when she saw that washing clothes was so complicated. She secretly decided in her heart that she must coax Feng Yandong in the evening. Otherwise, she couldn't handle washing clothes every day. Seeing that she looked like she was wandering in the sky while learning to wash clothes, Lin Wanshu couldn't help feeling a little powerless in her heart. She raised her hand and gave her a slap on the head and glared at her and said, "Are you still going to learn? If not, I'm going to catch snails." Hearing that she didn't wait for her, how could Yu Fangfang dare to slack off? She picked up the clothes and threw them on the stone. Then she smeared them with soap, rubbed them hard, and then pounded them hard. But even though she worked so hard, she still couldn't compare to the leisurely Lin Wanshu. When she finally finished 3 pieces, she had already finished washing all of them. After what happened just now, Lin Wanshu had already left a good impression on the military wives. Now, seeing her work so efficiently, they immediately liked her even more. They all pulled her to chat enthusiastically. It wasn't until Yu Fangfang finally finished washing the clothes that she was able to get away. "Let us go over there and catch snails." There were more and more people here, and it was not convenient to catch snails, so Lin Wanshu pointed to the stone beach upstream. Yu Fangfang was now her little fangirl, so she naturally wouldn't object. The two put all the clothes into a bucket, left one empty, and walked upstream. Fortunately, the river beach was long enough. Although the stones got smaller as you went further, there were still many snails, and the size was just right, not too big or too small. The tails of snails that were too big were full of eggs, so they were not delicious, and the ones that were too small didn't have much meat. In those days, there was a lack of oil and water, and the seasonings were pitifully scarce. In addition, the snails had a strong smell of mud, so no one would catch them to eat. They were usually caught and fed to the chickens. No one caught snails, so they were everywhere in the cracks of the rocks. After a while, Lin Wanshu picked up a lot of them. A quick look showed that she could probably make 2 plates of them. Yu Fangfang was not very skilled at picking snails for the first time, and she was immediately anxious when she saw that Lin Wanshu picked up a handful at once. "Wanwan, don't pick them all. Leave some for me." Lin Wanshu couldn't help but laugh when she heard her anxious words. "There are a lot of them. I think I can get half a bucket. I'm afraid that I will have to eat snails every meal for 2 or 3 days." Yu Fangfang didn't think it was too much. Since Lin Wanshu said she would fry the snails for her, she believed that she could definitely make it delicious. It took about half an hour to pick them up and fill half a bucket. There were still many snails in the river, so Lin Wanshu stopped picking them for fear that she couldn't carry them. Yu Fangfang felt it was a pity. Looking at the snails in the water, she said with a painful face, "Let's catch some more tomorrow." Picking up things is really addictive. Half a bucket of snails was indeed too heavy. On the way back, Ji Hualan helped to carry it. Her 2 sons were both naughty boys. They made their clothes dirty every day, and it was time-consuming and laborious to wash them. It happened that when she finished washing, Lin Wanshu and the others had almost finished picking up the snails, so they just waited to go back together. "Wanshu, how do you cook these snails so that they don't smell like mud?" Ji Hualan was so curious. She was thinking the same thing as Yu Fangfang. Since Lin Wanshu dared to pick so many, she must have a way to make it delicious. "I brought some spices. When the time comes, you all come to my house to eat snails, and I will teach you how to make them." Hearing this, Ji Hualan was overjoyed. "That's great. I won't be polite with you. When do you fry it? I'll go and learn from you." Thinking of the egg cake she had yesterday, she was looking forward to the snails. The military wives following behind didn't take Lin Wanshu's fried snails seriously. After all, there were snails everywhere in the countryside. If they were edible, would it be her turn to pick them up? They had been picked up by others long ago. Ji Hualan didn't care what the other military wives looked at her. After being happy, she said to Lin Wanshu, "Do you need me to bring anything?" After all, she just arrived, and it's not easy to find some ingredients. If I do and ask her, what if she is embarrassed to ask? Lin Wanshu originally wanted to ask her if she grew peppers. When she heard her take the initiative to mention it, she naturally didn't hesitate. Yu Fongfong, who was standing aside, saw the two chatting affectionately again and suddenly became unhappy again. Wanwan, I also want to learn how to stir-fry snails. You can teach me when the time comes. Upon hearing this, the military wives behind her immediately looked at her with an expression of seeing a ghost. Yu Fongfong, you want to cook? Don't burn the kitchen down again. When talking about her great achievements, the military wives all looked sad. Who in the family compound doesn't know that Yu Fongfong is not a good cook at all? When she first came to the family compound, Feng Yandong invited everyone to dinner. Yu Fongfong rushed to cook and ended up setting the kitchen on fire. If there weren't so many people coming, her house might have burned down. Yu Fongfong.
But
It must be that my old Feng taught me wrongly. Maybe if Wanwan taught me, I would be able to do it? Anyway, she would never admit that she was wrong. After understanding the whole story, Lin Wanshu couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth. Knowing that she was a child, she had to give in to her. After thinking for a while, she said, everyone has something they are not good at. It's no big deal if you can't cook. When the time comes, you can help me pick up the snails. Maybe you are good at this? Yu Fongfong was jealous of Ji Hualan, who kept talking to Lin Wanshu. She had no interest in cooking at all. Now, after hearing what she said, she immediately went along with it. I think you are right. Cooking is not my strong point, but I can definitely do other things. But the military wives who heard this almost rolled their eyes at the sky again. With her character, she can't do laundry and she can't cook. What else can she be good at? Seeing the military wives with expressions that were hard to describe, Lin Wanshu also found it very funny. What kind of person is Yu Fongfong in the family compound on weekdays? Yu Fongfong had no idea that the military wives were complaining about her in their hearts again. After patting her chest and promising that she would be able to pick up the snails beautifully, several people returned to the family compound. Ji Hualan said that Lin Wanshu should be sent home first so that she could pour out the snails and free up the bucket for clothes. Yu Fongfong naturally had no objection. Just as she walked to the door, she heard the sound of crackling of chopping wood in the yard. The three of them looked in the direction of the sound and saw Qin Yan sitting on a stool with a machete in his hand. He didn't see how hard he used, but with a move of his hand, the firewood standing on the ground was split into two halves with a. Yu Fongfong's mouth almost opened into an O shape.
Wan.
What material is your machete made of? Why is it so sharp? Just fell lightly like that and the firewood was split? But after watching for a while, she inexplicably felt that the machete seemed a little familiar. You guys are back. Qin Yan heard the voice, put down the knife, and walked forward. He clearly asked you guys, but if you look closely, his eyes are clearly looking at Lin Wanshu. Ji Hualan had the illusion that she was fed dog food early in the morning. But Yu Fongfong didn't care about anything else. She looked at the machete on the ground, a little doubtful. Isn't this knife ours? She took it to the mountains to chop firewood. It was her first time, and she had no experience. She accidentally chopped the stone next to her, leaving a gap on the machete. Hearing this, Qin Yan did not deny it. It is indeed my sister-in-law's. I just borrowed it from Deputy Commander Feng. Yu Fongfong. No. When did her knife become so sharp? Unable to help, she curiously picked up the machete on the ground and looked at it up and down. But after looking at it for a long time, she didn't find out where the knife was sharp. Why does he use it as easily as cutting iron into mud? Qin Yan ignored Yu Fongfong's curiosity. Seeing Lin Wanshu come back with half a bucket of snails, he raised his eyebrows. Why did you pick up so many snails? Did she want to raise chickens? Lin Wanshu pursed her lips and smiled, saying, I'll fry them in 2 days. Hearing that she wanted to fry the snails, Qin Yan's face was a little hesitant. He wanted to say that he had tried it before, and it was not delicious. But seeing his wife's excited look, he finally didn't spoil her fun. At most, he would eat more when the time comes. Yu Fongfong had already picked up the machete and started chopping the remaining firewood. But as soon as the knife returned to her hand, it immediately became blunt and heavy again. She used a lot of strength to knock a piece of firewood on the ground more than 10 times before splitting it. Looking at the firewood that was finally split in half by herself on the ground, and then looking at Qin Yan's pile of wood pieces that were chopped into uniform sizes, Yu Fangfang began to doubt her life. Wan, what did your man eat to grow up? How can he be so strong? She couldn't help but pull Lin Wanshu aside and whispered. Lin Wanshu knew that Qin Yan was strong, but she didn't know exactly how strong he was. It was not until she saw Yu Fangfang chopping wood hard just now that she realized that it was not because of the sharpness of the knife, but because of his amazing strength. Looking at the hidden muscle lines on the man's arms that seemed to contain infinite power, Lin Wanshu felt her throat dry for some reason. After a pause, she said, "Maybe it was trained? After all, the army conducts physical training every day, so it's not surprising to have strong strength." Yu Fangfang. When my old phone comes back, I will let him train more. What she didn't dare to say was that Qin Yan was so handsome when he chopped wood just now. It was just full of hormones. When her old phone can exercise such strength, she will be willing to wash clothes every day. Yu Fangfang and Ji Hualan did not stay long. After Lin Wanshu poured out the snails, they each carried their own buckets and went back. The couple was left alone in the yard again, and Xiao Miao Miao had not yet gotten up. There was a rope in the corner, which should have been left by the previous family members. Lin Wanshu found a rag to wipe the rope clean, and then shook out the clean clothes in the bucket and spread them on the rope. Qin Yan picked up the machete and continued to chop the remaining firewood. Although the couple was busy with their own work, they could see each other as soon as they raised their eyes. Feeling the man's eyes on her from time to time, Lin Wanshu blushed slightly. After a pause, she casually found a topic and said, "Where did you get so much firewood?" What she saw in the kitchen yesterday were branches of medium size, not such thick firewood. Lao Gao behind the house sent it. Lao Gao was Wang Chunling's man. Gao Wang Jin. Send so much. Will they still need it? Lin Wanshu felt a little sorry. She owed so many favors just after arriving. Don't worry, he has plenty of firewood. Gao Wangjin usually goes to the mountains to collect firewood when he is free. No one in the entire family compound has more firewood than his family. And they are comrades in arms, so they won't care about these things. When the time comes, he can just bring him some firewood from somewhere else. Hearing him say this, Lin Wanshu no longer hesitated. After hanging up the clothes, she walked up to him and prepared to take the chopped firewood next to her back. There were still 5 or 6 pieces of firewood left on the ground that had not been chopped. Qin Yan raised his knife, as usual, and with one cut, the firewood was split in half. The tendons on the man's arms bulged with force, and his wheat-colored skin refracted the morning sun, as if it had a metallic luster, and the masculine beauty of a man was eye-catching. Although she had seen him chopping wood, for some reason, Lin Wanshu couldn't take her eyes away at this moment. Sensing her burning gaze, Qin Yan paused slightly. An indescribable excitement flowed through his body, and his muscles unconsciously tensed up. Facing the woman's admiring gaze, the firewood on the ground was being chopped into uniform small pieces of wood at a flying speed. Lin Wanshu looked at the uniform-sized pieces of wood on the ground with amazement in her eyes. How did you do it? Holding 2 pieces of wood in her hands, she couldn't help but wonder if the man had a ruler in his eyes. Otherwise, how could he divide a piece of firewood so evenly? I cut it by feeling. Qin Yan couldn't explain what that mysterious feeling was. As soon as he picked up the wood, he didn't even need to look at it. He could easily chop it into the size he wanted. Hearing him say that, Lin Wanshu felt a little numb. What kind of man did she marry? Not only was he powerful, but he could also chop the firewood into 6 equal parts by feeling. But before she could think about it, the crying of a baby came from the room. Meow Meow is awake, I'll go check on her. As she said that, Lin Wanshu didn't bother to carry the firewood anymore. She put down the wood in her hand and hurried into the house. As soon as she entered the house, she saw the little girl sitting on the bed with messy hair, and her white and tender face was wrinkled. Woo wow, Mom. Seeing her pitiful appearance, Lin Wanshu felt distressed. Mom is here, come and let me hug you. She walked to the bed and stretched out her hand to her. The little girl heard her mother's voice, moved her little ace, and turned around eagerly. When she saw that it was really her mother, her mouth pursed, and she cried even more sadly. Woo-wow, while crying, she stood up and staggered into her mother's arms. Lin Wanshu's heart softened as she held the soft little body in her arms. Holding the baby in her arms, she coaxed her while walking out. In the yard, Qin Yan had already finished collecting the firewood and was now picking up the wood and putting it in a pile. Lin Wanshu told him to leave it there and take it later, and then she took the baby to the toilet to urinate. In this era, children start to urinate when they are a few months old. Diapers are only used when they are young, and they are basically not used when they are older. For children over 1 year old, most of the time, adults get up at night to urinate. Some of them don't have time to urinate, so they urinate directly on the bed. It is normal for children to wet the bed. Adults have to work during the day and have no time to wash the mats. No one cares about the smell of, and they go home and fall asleep. When she first took over the baby, Lin Wanshu was also prepared to get up every day to urinate. But surprisingly, Xiao Miao Miao didn't let her urinate at all. Lin Wanshu waited in fear for several days, only to find that the baby had good self-control. Generally, he urinated once before going to bed and didn't need to get up to urinate all night. It must be said that this really saved her a lot of trouble. Xiao Miao Miao stopped crying after she finished peeing, but her eyes were still hazy, and she looked not quite awake. Lin Wanshu carried her to the shower room, washed her face and brushed her teeth, and then tied a small bun for her. Xiao Miao Miao touched her small bun and grinned, looking finally awake. When she came out, she didn't want Lin Wanshu to hold her, and she played around in the yard. Seeing that she was willing to play by herself, Lin Wanshu didn't care. Anyway, she couldn't get lost in the family compound. But when she was about to carry the firewood into the kitchen, she found that the ground was empty. The man who had just chopped firewood was now piling firewood in the kitchen, and the stove behind him had been lit at some point. Lin Wanshu, I know what's going on, don't worry. Qin Yan saw her worried look on her face and said to comfort her. The firewood had been moved, and Lin Wanshu didn't say anything else, just told him to rest if he felt uncomfortable and not to hurt his legs. After that, she took out a clean basin and put several handfuls of flour into it. Yesterday, the military wife sent 2 or 3 tomatoes, and she was going to use 3 eggs to make tomato and egg noodles. After getting the flour, she poured a little water into the basin and began to knead the dough. In her previous life, she made a lot of noodles, so she didn't even need to see how much flour and water to add, and she could add it all at once. The scattered flour was quickly kneaded into a ball in her hands. She got up early in the morning and couldn't find her hairband. Lin Wanshu picked up a wooden hairpin in the space and tied her hair behind her head. Just now, she was washing clothes and touching snails, so her hair was a little messy. A few strands of black hair fell on her slender neck, brushing against her white jade skin again and again as she moved. Qin Yan's eyes moved with the strands of hair, and his Adam's apple rolled up and down unconsciously. How could Lin Wanshu not notice the man's undisguised burning gaze? But she pretended not to know with a bad heart. But every move she made was unconsciously more charming, which made the man's eyes look more and more uneasy. Lin Wanshu's marriage in the previous life was not normal. When she realized it, she was busy taking revenge on Zhao Mingyuan, so she naturally didn't have any thoughts in that regard. But since she saw Qin Yan chopping wood just now, she suddenly realized that she was also a man's lover. After all, she was no longer a real little girl. Since she knew what she wanted, she didn't hesitate anymore. Qin Yan didn't know what his wife was thinking, watching the white dough constantly changing shape in her hands. The scene last night flashed unconsciously in his mind. Instantly, he felt that the temperature of the whole kitchen seemed to rise a few degrees. But she seemed to be unaware of it. After kneading the dough, she turned and left the stove. I don't know if the space between the stove and the water tank was too narrow. When she came out, her soft body brushed against his arm and walked over. Qin Yan's breathing tightened, and his hand subconsciously grabbed the person. What are you doing? Lin Wanshu really didn't mean it. He was so old and was afraid to be here. It was hard for her not to bump into him. But she didn't expect him to suddenly hold her. Her heart skipped a beat, and she spoke subconsciously, looking at the woman's red lips opening and closing, and then looking into her eyes that seemed to be coquettish and angry. Qin Yan's throat became more and more dry. He didn't say anything, but his hands had already wrapped around her slender waist without knowing when. The firewood in the stove was burning, crackling, and the temperature in the kitchen was also rising. A couple who had been married for 2 years, but still felt a little strange, looked at each other. There was a distance of a fist between them, but they seemed to hear each other's messy heartbeats. It was obviously she who started the fire just now, but when it came to the end, Lin Wanshu was inexplicably nervous. Looking at the man's deep and handsome face getting closer and closer, she subconsciously closed her eyes. The messy breath was close at hand, and the hot temperature came with his breath. Lin Wanshu was both expectant and nervous. My heart was so fast that it seemed to jump out of my chest. But before the expected kiss fell, Shen Shuwen's voice suddenly came from outside the door. "Lao Qin, are you home?" This loud voice was like a magic spell, directly breaking the ambiguity in the kitchen. Lin Wanshu pushed Qin Yan reflexively, and his whole face turned red, as if he had been rouged. "Go quickly, Brother Shun is looking for him." Qin Yan. The veins on his forehead twitched slightly. After a pause, he let go of her soft waist. "I'm here." In response, he turned around and went out. In the yard, Shen Shuwen was squatting next to Xiao Miao Miao, looking at her curiously. She was holding a small wooden stick that she picked up from somewhere and was digging hard. There was a small hole, but the ground in the yard was tamped after all. How could she dig it? After looking at it for a while, Shen Shuwen couldn't help it anymore and said in a low voice, "Meow meow. My uncle's brother knows how to catch crickets. I'll call them over and help you catch them later, okay?" Both brothers are very handsome. As soon as Qin Yan went out, he saw Shen Shuwen abducting his daughter with evil intentions. His face was not very good at first, but now it became even darker. "No, Meow Meow, wait. Dad will take you to Phil Crickets with you later." Seeing Qin Yan looking at him with a defensive expression, Shen Shuwen was a little embarrassed. After laughing twice, he stood up and said to him, "Just kidding, don't be so serious." But Qin Yan didn't believe this old fox at all. He led the person back to the room that was temporarily used as the living room and poured him a glass of water. Shen Shuwen was not polite, picked up the enamel cup and started drinking. After taking a few sips, he said, "We have clues about those people." Hearing this, Qin Yan sat up straight, with a serious expression on his face. "What clue?" On the day the siblings were reported, and the day before those people were transferred, someone saw a in military uniform going to Li Heping's house. Li Heping is the director of Wenshi Cabinet Committee. However, he is not from Wenshi, but transferred from Qingshi. I heard that this person has a good background, and he is backed by senior officials in Beijing. No wonder he is so good with so much energy. He directly transferred 7 or 8 cabinet committee members to the border. After listening to his words, Qin Yan's cold and solemn expression turned dark and serious at the moment, and it turned out that this man was not only what he thought. It involves military personnel and has a close relationship with the cabinet committee. He pursed his lips slightly, paused, and then said, "It's not urgent. Please help me check another matter first." Qin Yan is not a reckless person. Although he may not be able to defeat these 2 people with his current ability, he is used to killing them with one strike. If he doesn't take action, he will definitely make them unable to fight back. Shen Shuwen also knew what kind of temper his brother was, so he didn't say much when he saw this. "What's the matter?"
Just say it.
It's all a lifelong friendship. Qin Yan had nothing to hide, so he told him about the seizure of the letter he sent to Lin Wanshu. When he finished speaking, Shen Shuwen's jaw almost dropped to the ground. "You mean, it's not that your wife doesn't want to reply to you, but that she didn't receive the letter at all?" "Qin Yan, there's nothing wrong with understanding it this way." He nodded. "Well, she said she didn't receive any of them." Hearing his confirmation, Shen Shuwen, who has always been good-tempered, suddenly became angry. "It's really unreasonable. They even dared to seize letters from officers and soldiers privately. Is there any more royal method? If his brother hadn't successfully dated Lin Wanshu in the end, wouldn't he have missed it in this life? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He slapped the table and stood up. I will definitely find out about this matter, and I must let them do it. Your explanation really off labor and management. After that, he didn't stay much longer, put on his hat, and went out. Lin Wanshu had just cut the noodles and put them into the pot. When she saw Shin Shuwen coming and leaving in a hurry, she hurriedly shouted, "Brother Shin, why are you leaving? Don't you want to eat a bowl of noodles first? I'm going to cook it soon." Shin Shuwen saw that she was still wearing an apron, with a gentle and virtuous look, and felt even more afraid for his brother. As a man, he knew very well what it meant to miss a woman he had been thinking about for many years. That one squatting in the gutter, the mouse deserves to die. Even though he was furious in his heart, he still had a smile on his face. "No, I have something to go back to the military camp. I won't be polite to you when I have time." Hearing what he said, Lin Wanshu didn't insist anymore. He only said that he would come with Ji Hualan in a few days and she would fry him some delicious food. After Shin Shuwen happily agreed, he left. Waiting for others after leaving, Lin Wanshu returned to the kitchen. The noodles in the pot were almost cooked. After almost kissing her just now, Lin Wanshu was a little afraid to look into the man's eyes. Her cheeks were slightly red, and she asked him to sit down and prepare to eat. Qin Yan said, carrying Milkman to a raised square stool. Then he sat on the bench, next to Lin Wanshu. There were 3 people in the family. Milkman sat on one side, and the couple sat on one side.
"Sit on the other side."
Lin Wanshu. After eating, Lin Wanshu left the milk baby to Qin Yan to take care of as usual, and went to the fields with Ji Hualan with A. Yu Fongfong still didn't have to go to work today. He picked up the as he did. "I have asked Director Ma to allocate some land to me, and I will dig it out later, and I will plant tomatoes early tomorrow morning." She worked hard to give birth to a beautiful daughter. Yu Fongfong said with an ambitious look. But Ji Hualan immediately poured cold water on her. "You have to do laundry and go to work tomorrow, so you have this time." "Plant? Yu Fongfong. Can I plant it again when I get back from work?" As she said that, she turned to look at Lin Wanshu again. "Wan, you will teach me how to grow tomatoes, right? Whether I can give birth to a beautiful daughter or not depends entirely on you." Yu Fongfong was pretty and lovely. When she wasn't acting like a monster, she looked really lovable. Now that she was looking at her pitiful eyes, how could Lin Wanshu refuse? "Okay, then I'll wait for you in the afternoon. After work, we go to plant vegetables together. Anyway, it doesn't matter if we go in the morning or afternoon. Growing vegetables couldn't be easier." When she heard her promise, Yu Fongfong's tail almost turned up. She looked at Ji Hualan with a proud look on her face. "Look, what Wan cares about most is it's me."
Yi Hualan.
Virtue. Why didn't she find this person so shameless before? But she seems to be more pleasing to the eye than before. Once she put aside her prejudice, Ji Hualan soon discovered that Yu Fongfong had a bad mouth. He was actually quite nice, and as soon as she recognized someone, she would directly drag him into her own territory, and the 3 of them chatted and laughed all the way to Ma Chioping's private field. She arrived in the field early. The sun was already high in the east, and the sun shone on her body. After a while, she felt a little hot. She was wearing a straw hat and holding it in her hand.
Boundary Stone. Director Ma.
Seeing her, Ji Hualan said hello from a distance. Ma Chioping is the wife of Political Commissar Su Kongnian. She is not only the women's director of the regiment, but also responsible for the affairs of the family home. And she is also like a big sister. Not only has she no heirs, and she is very friendly. The military wife in the regiment likes to see her for everything. Lin Wanshu didn't have time to visit her yesterday, but she came to care about them. Therefore, she also has a good impression of this director.
Director Ma.
She also said hello. Yu Fongfong jumped directly in front of her. "Director Ma, where is my land? I can't wait to open up land and grow vegetables now." Ma Chioping looked at her like a skinny monkey, feeling funny and helpless. "You're here. Why are you so anxious?" As he spoke, he nodded to the other two people and then said with a smile, "Daughter-in-law Qin Yan, I have buried the boundary stones in your land. Come and take a look. We don't work together like a production team here. After all, some military wives have to go to work, and some military wives are unwilling to work in the fields because of their good family conditions. Farming is done on a voluntary basis. Anyone who wants it can apply, and after applying, you can just plant it yourself. After all, here it was a border defense. The mountains were high, and the emperor was far away, so the troops couldn't get involved in the movement. Naturally, they made arrangements according to their convenience. Ma Qiuping just buried the boundary stone in Lin Wanshu's field. She led her around and asked her to recognize it. As soon as she recognized her vegetable field, Yu Fangfang didn't want the field, but she was unhappy when she saw that her vegetable field was not next to Lin Wanshu's. "Director Ma, you know me. I have never even cultivated the land. You separated me so far away. How could I ask Wanwan for advice on how to cultivate the land?" In the end, he insisted on asking her to change a piece for him, even if it was a smaller piece. In the end, Ma Qiuping had no choice but to give her a triangular piece of land next to Lin Wanshu. The shape of this piece of land was strange, and other military wives refused to take it. But Yu Fangfang was very satisfied with it. Triangle is good. Triangle is the most stable structure. That satisfied little look made Lin Wanshu laugh and cry. "How about I give you a piece of land here, and turn your land into a parallelogram?" Hearing this, Yu Fangfang quickly waved her hand to refuse. "Goodbye, I can't take care of this piece of land. You know my ability." Hearing her say this, Lin Wanshu thought of her great achievements in the family compound and immediately stopped trying to persuade her. After the land was divided, Ma Qiuping left. The vegetable fields here had actually been reclaimed before, but no one had planted them, and the fields were full of grass. Lin Wanshu did nothing all morning and was just busy weeding. Fortunately, she was used to farm work in this life, and she could do the work quickly and well just by muscle memory. Yu Fangfang was exhausted and panting after digging for a while. No, I need to take a break. Farm work is really hard." At this moment, she realized how amazing those educated youth who supported rural construction were. Lin Wanshu was blessed with a spiritual spring water, so she didn't feel very tired, but the sun was too strong after all, and it was uncomfortable to be exposed to the sun. After digging half of it, she also sat under a tree to rest. The two chatted while drinking water, and soon Ji Hualan also came. "This weather, there's no wind at all. It's so hot." Ji Hualan complained while fanning herself with her straw hat. Lin Wanshu picked up her kettle and handed it to her. "Drink some water and take a rest first." Ji Hualan took it, unscrewed the lid, and gulped down several mouthfuls before she felt much better. In early July, it was the height of summer, and the sky was clear without a single cloud. The three of them chatted casually, and soon they saw Huang Fengming coming to the field with a big belly. She was carrying 2 buckets on her shoulders, followed by 3 little girls in tattered clothes. The youngest one didn't look much older than Miao Miao, but her hair was as yellow as dead grass, and her thin arms and legs looked like she didn't have much flesh. A pair of big eyes were embedded in the skinny girl. S little face looked a little scary. The child probably didn't have enough to eat, and she fell every 2 steps. But she didn't dare to cry at such a young age. She got up immediately after falling down and stumbled behind her mother and sister. Looking at those poor little girls, Ji Hualan couldn't help but sigh. It's unlucky to have such a mother. Although Lin Wanshu didn't like Huang Fengming, she felt very uncomfortable when she saw the child who was about the same age as Miao Miao but was so thin that she looked like a monster. She couldn't help but ask, "Director Ma, don't you care?" The Women's Federation is a unit that protects the rights and interests of women and children, but you can tell from this child that she has never had a good day. Of course you care, but they treat you well in front of you, and they still do what they should do behind your back. Ji Hualan was speechless about this family. Huang Fengming came to her own vegetable garden carrying a bucket of water and directed the 3 children to pull out the weeds. "Pull them out thoroughly. Otherwise your grandma will come and find out that you haven't pulled them out thoroughly, or you won't have lunch." After saying that, She walked carefully on the ridge of the field with her big belly. The porridge that the children had last night was watery, and there was not much rice and sweet potato. In the morning, they didn't even have time to drink a sip of rice soup before they were driven to the field to work by Huindi. Now, they were so hungry that they had no strength in their bodies, but they didn't dare to complain. As soon as they arrived at the vegetable field, they skillfully pulled out the weeds. They were afraid that if they didn't pull them out cleanly, they would really not be able to have lunch later. The summer sun was a bit scorching even in the morning. Several people didn't wear hats. Soon, they were dizzy and dazzled by the sun. The youngest Sanya was only 2.5 years old, but she could already tell which was a vegetable and which was a. She worked in a good manner. Not long after, Huang Fengying came back carrying 2 buckets of water. The huge belly blocked her sight. She couldn't see the road under her feet at all, and every step was difficult. But when she thought of the baby in her belly, she was full of energy. This child is like several of the big ones, all reacted differently. It was definitely a son. As long as she gave birth to a son, everything would be better. With this belief, Huang Fengying came to the sweet potato field step by step. She had already watered the vegetable field yesterday afternoon, but it was late, and she didn't have time to water the sweet potatoes. She could only come here to water them now. The sweet potatoes will be ready for digging in a month. Normally, they don't need to be watered frequently, but the weather has been a bit dry recently, and the sun is strong, so they need to be watered every few days. After arriving at the sweet potato field, Huang Fengying carefully put down the bucket. Her stomach felt a little heavy, but she didn't dare to rest. She picked up the watering can and poured water on the sweet potatoes. With that skilled posture, how could you tell that she had never been to the field before she got married? After watering 2 buckets, Huang Fengying went to fetch water again. After fetching water 3 times in a row, only half of the sweet potato field was watered. Just as she was about to pick up the 4th bucket, Daya's voice as thin as a mosquito came from the side.
Mom,
We've finished pulling. Can we go catch some grasshoppers and roast them? They don't have enough to eat most of the time, and they can only find ways to eat on their own. Grasshoppers in the fields, fish, shrimps, and in the water are all food for them to fill their stomachs. But every time, they went to find them secretly and didn't dare to tell Huang Fengying. Today, they were so hungry that they couldn't stand it anymore, so they came over to ask in a low voice.
Eat, eat, eat.
You only know how to eat. Why don't you eat yourself to death? Useless things. Huang Fengying's stomach was already uncomfortable, and when she heard Daya's words, she was furious. The ferocious look on her face scared the 3 children so much that they shuddered. Sanya shrank directly behind her eldest sister for fear that she would be beaten accidentally. After you pull the weeds, help me carry water. No one can escape until the sweet potato field is watered today. As she said this, she stuffed the bucket directly to Daya. Daya is already 7 years old this year, but she is obviously shorter than her peers. Carrying a huge bucket in one hand, she didn't dare to say anything and went to the ditch to fetch water obediently. Arya lowered her head. Her whole body was wooden, as if she was a puppet without a soul. She followed her sister wherever she went. Sanya didn't know what happened, but she caught up with her 2 sisters instinctively. Behind her, Huang Fengying touched her bulging belly, pouted, and cursed. None of them is useful. Lin Wanshu, who was turning the soil not far away, saw this scene and felt an indescribable sense of powerlessness in her heart. In this era of favoring boys over girls, there are more than tens of thousands of girls like them. Didn't she also try her best to climb out of such a quagmire? Sighing, she retracted her gaze and continued to dig her own land. After a long time, Daya came back staggeringly carrying 2.5 buckets of water. She was not tall, and the buckets almost hung to the ground. Occasionally, when the buckets touched the grass on the ground, she would trip and her small body would tilt. How could a 7-year-old child have any strength? But she gritted her teeth and carried the water to the sweet potato field. Huang Fengying looked at the water in the bucket, but was not very satisfied. I've raised you to this age in vain. Can't you carry more? After glaring at her, She snatched the bucket and continued to water the sweet potatoes. Yu Fangfang couldn't stand it anymore. Huang Fengying, are you still a human being? She is only a few years old, and you ask her to fetch water. If you can't choose, won't you ask your mother-in-law to come? If your mother-in-law can't choose either, won't she wait for your husband to come back and choose? Why are you making such a fuss for a child? She put her hands on her hips and started to scold. It was really unreasonable. After being scolded by Yu Fangfang, Huang Fengying, who was showing off in front of the children, suddenly froze, and her face turned the color of liver. After a long while, she finally squeezed out a sentence. You don't understand. I do this for their own good. Girls should do more work so that they can be said to have a good family when they grow up. Yu Fangfang. Lin Wanshu. What is a good family? Like you? You still have to fetch water to water the sweet potatoes when you are about to give birth, and the child is so hungry that he is skin and bones? Lin Wanshu couldn't help but said sarcastically. These words were like a thorn, piercing Huang Fengying's heart. The anger boomed and burned her reason out. Huang Fengying stared at Lin Wanshu angrily. Why do you say that to me? Just because you married a good man? Do you know how difficult it is for me? I gave birth to 3 daughters, and people looked down on me and laughed at me for not being able to give birth to a. Do you think I want to live like this? Do you think I don't want to eat well and dress well for my children like you? You don't know anything. What qualifications do you have to point fingers at me? Looking at the hysterical Huang Fengying in front of her, Lin Wanshu felt ridiculous and pathetic. How could she not know? In her previous life, she didn't even have a child, let alone a daughter. Every day in the Red Star Brigade, she was laughed at and looked down upon. Lu Juhua was not a good person either. If she hadn't been smart, she would have been tortured to death. But even in such a quagmire, she never gave up struggling. In the end, she walked out of the Red Star Brigade step by step on her own. Looking at the strong and fragile Huang Fengying in front of her, Lin Wanshu said word by word, "No one can degrade you to the dust, except yourself. You can never rely on others for your destiny at any time. If you rely on mountains, they will fall, and if you rely on people, they will run away." If she hadn't given up her job today, what would it matter if she gave birth to 3 daughters? With a job and income, would she still worry about not being able to support herself and her children? Lin Wanshu didn't say this, but Huang Fengying stood there in a daze. Looking at the skinny children, her mind suddenly flashed back to the glory of her past work, and her eyes suddenly reddened. How did she live like this? Huang Fengying went back in despair, not even caring about the children. The sweet potatoes were not watered yet, and the buckets were thrown all over the place. The children were a little flustered. What happened to their mother? Lin Wanshu looked at the 3 pitiful children, as if she saw herself who was weak and helpless. After a pause, she took out 3 small mung bean cakes from the space under the cover of her belt. Although the mung bean cakes are not big, they have added a lot of nutrients and have a strong sense of fullness. It is perfect for dealing with famine. It is not conspicuous and provides the energy needed by the human body. This thing was originally in the space, probably studied by her ancestors of unknown generation. She has 1 or 2 tons of such mung bean cakes. The children looked at the tempting cakes in front of them and couldn't help swallowing their saliva. Their hungry stomachs made loud noises. But even though they were so hungry, they still didn't dare to reach out to take it. Not only that, the 3 of them also shrank back at the same time. Lin Wanshu didn't say much. She just pulled the biggest hand over and put 3 cakes in their hands. Take it and share it with your sisters, and the aunties will take the bucket back for you later. With cakes stuffed in her hands, Daya didn't dare to say no, but she shook her head vigorously about her having to carry the bucket for herself. I have to water the plants before I can go back. Otherwise, Grandma would definitely not give them lunch. If they don't have lunch, they won't be able to walk. They don't have the strength to work, and they will be beaten when they go back, so they might as well finish watering here first. Hearing this, Ji Hualan couldn't help but sigh. What a sin! With children of the same age, her family can lift the roof, but these 3 are so humble that they are in the dust. You go and have cakes, and your aunt will help you water this little piece of land in a while. As she said that, she pointed under the tree, and motioned them to sit there. Dia hesitated for a moment, but having grown up in an oppressive environment for a long time, she did not dare to oppose the authority of adults. Finally, she led her two sisters to sit under the tree, looking back every few steps. Ji Hualan's vegetable garden was taken care of, so she simply helped the children water it. She must talk to Director Ma later. Zhou Tianzhu was really too unreasonable. How could he ignore these girls? Lin Wanshu had already turned over her vegetable garden. Seeing Ji Hualan carrying water, she also stepped forward to help. After all, she was also involved in the matter of arguing with Huang Fengying just now. Considering that she was a pregnant woman, she would help today. What happens in the future has nothing to do with her. Yu Fangfang had not finished her own work, so she didn't care about helping. But Lin Wanshu and Ji Hualan were both quick and nimble. In less than 10 minutes, the two of them watered the remaining sweet potato fields. After watering, seeing that Yu Fangfang's field had not been turned over yet, the two helped her again. Yu Fangfang. Another day of feeling like a waste. No, she couldn't go on like this. What if Lin Wanshu disliked her and didn't want to play with her? On the way back, Yu Fangfang swore secretly in her heart. She must stand up tomorrow. After eating the mung bean cakes, Dia, Arya, and Sonia all regained their spirits and didn't look as listless as before. But their expressions were still timid. The three of them followed Lin Wanshu silently, not daring to say a word. The three big and three small walked all the way back to the family yard. Ji Hualan carried a bucket and planned to send the three small ones back to the Zhou family first. But just passing by the yard and before entering the door, she heard an arrogant voice coming from the kitchen. "Who are you? Are you worthy to sit here and eat with my mother?" Lin Wanshu. Where did this feudal remnant come from? Ji Hualan curled her lips and whispered to Lin Wanshu, "This person is Zhou Tianzhu's sister, Zhou Xiaoyan, whom I told you about." The three little ones heard the voice inside, and they, who were already timid, trembled immediately. Those who didn't know would think there was a ghost inside. In the kitchen, Huang Fengying, who was scolded, did not apologize humbly as usual. Instead, she stared at Zhou Xiaoyan, who was dressed in a bright outfit. "What are you looking at? Are you not convinced? Look at what kind of things you gave birth to. If I hadn't married you, would my brother be laughed at?" Zhou Xiaoyan put her hands on her hips, stared at her with a pair of triangular eyes, and said viciously. The water blue floral top that originally showed her temperament, when she wore it, it looked like a nouveau riche wearing gold and silver. This fabric originally belonged to Huang Fengying. When she was a girl, she cherished it so much that she couldn't bear to wear it. But I gave it to her with good intentions, but I got such insults in return. Huang Fengying's hands had been clenched into fists at some point. Her pale, bloodless lips were pursed tightly. Seeing that she didn't say anything and kept staring at her shirt, Zhou Xiaoyan suddenly remembered the first time she saw her, when she was also staring at her Dacron shirt. At that time, her skin was fair, and her whole body exuded a temperament that only city people had. Standing in front of her, she was like an ugly duckling. Now the situation has changed, and she has become a city dweller with a job and income, while she has become a young wife who can be beaten and scolded at will. When she thought of this, the sense of superiority in her eyes seemed to overflow. "Are you looking at my clothes? Let me tell you, this style is the most fashionable now, and the labor cost alone is 5 yuan. It's useless for you to look at it." With her condition, she should be grateful for a meal of white rice porridge, and she still wants to wear beautiful clothes like mine? What a joke. "My daughter is talking to you. Are you deaf? Get out of my way. Seeing you is bad luck." Seeing that she didn't say anything and just stared at people, Hu Yindi felt even more disgusted. If she wasn't afraid that she was really pregnant with a grandson, she would have kicked her long ago. What the Hades? After Hu Yindi finished speaking, she didn't care whether she was hungry or not, and picked up a piece of fat meat for Zhou Xiaoyan. "You are sensible and know to buy meat for me. Unlike some people, they are useless except for eating." The mother and daughter were affectionate, eating meat piece by piece. Huang Fengying's nails had sunk into her palms without knowing when. She used to eat meat once or twice a month, and she could make a new set of clothes every winter and summer. But what kind of life is she living now? The shirt on her body was an old dress she had made before she got married. She hasn't eaten meat since she gave birth to Arya. She can't even remember what eggs taste like. Come on, eat another piece, and leave the rest for your brother, Huindi said, and stretched out her chopsticks to pick up another piece of meat. But before she touched it, a hand suddenly stretched out from the side and took away the meat and the basin. Huang Fengying, what are you crazy about? Hurry up and put the meat back to me. Zhou Xiaoyan's eyes were almost spitting fire when she saw Huang Fengying dare to take the meat away. Huang Fengying looked at the mother and daughter's expressions as if they were going to eat her, and her face turned pale. The fear that had been suppressed for a long time made her almost put down the meat in her hand. But when she thought that she hadn't touched meat for a long time, she barely straightened her back and pretended to be calm and said, "This meat is obviously bought with my salary. Why can't I eat it?" Zhou Xiaoyan didn't expect this cowardly and stupid woman to say that, and she almost couldn't react. When she came to her senses, she slammed the table and stood up. "What do you mean your salary? I'm the one working now, so the salary is naturally mine." Huang Fengying was so scared that she almost jumped up when she saw the furious Zhou Xiaoyan.
But she still argued. I
just asked you to work in my place temporarily. I didn't say I would give you the job. Now I have no meat to eat. You give me the job back, I will earn money to buy it myself. These words were like a bomb, which made the mother and daughter dizzy. I didn't expect that she would not only the meat, but now she even dared to ask for a job? This is outrageous. Huang Fengying, are you confused? Zhou Xiaoyan asked in disbelief. She, Huang Fengying, is the sinner of their Zhou family. How dare she ask herself for a job? Seeing her expression that looked like she was daydreaming, Huang Fengying suddenly felt it was a bit absurd. Obviously, that was her job. You lied to me. Why don't you keep your word? Didn't you agree that you would give me my job back after I gave birth to my second child and finished my confinement? How come in the end, I became the shameless one? Holding the pot of pork tightly in her hand, Huang Fengying's face was full of anger, of being deceived. Outside the door, in addition to Lin Wanshu and the other two, there were several more military wives who appeared at some point. Everyone listened to the noise inside with gossipy faces. When they heard that Huang Fengying, who had always been cowardly, dared to ask Zhou Xiaoyan for a job, everyone was shocked. It turns out that this job has not been given to Zhou Xiaoyan yet. It seems that Huang Fengying is not completely brainless.
Wang Hunling whispert to Ji Hualan.
But Ji Hualan didn't care. What's the use? She has occupied the job for so long. How can she get it back so easily? That's right. She was beaten so badly by Huindi this morning. She didn't dare to say a word. I guarantee she won't take this job back. Everyone was talking about it. If they had a handful of melon seeds in their hands, they would probably start cracking them. Lin Wanshu didn't want to stay here to read the gossip. After all, there was a baby waiting for her at home. But the three children huddled tightly behind her, trembling. Seeing them so scared, she couldn't just leave like that. In the kitchen, hearing Huang Fengying as questioning, Zhou Xiaoyan felt like she had heard a big joke. Huang Fengying, do you want to listen to what you were saying? You gave birth to 3 money-losing children, but my Zhou family didn't bother with you and provided you 4 with good food and drink. Now you dare to ask me for a job? These words were like a sharp sword, hitting Huang Fengying's face. It also made her, who was originally righteous, feel that she was a step shorter in an instant. Then, how can it be the same?
She just wanted her job back.
What did she do wrong? Huindi was used to controlling this daughter-in-law. Today, her authority was challenged, and she was already angry. Now that she dared to talk back, she narrowed her eyes and said in a gloomy voice, "This job is paid to our Zhou family because you can't give birth to a son. Do you want it back? Believe it or not, I will let my son divorce you." Hearing this, the military wives outside the yard couldn't help but gasp. This old woman is so cruel. How can a woman face people after divorce these days? Isn't this forcing her to die? It seems that Yang Zheng is right. She will definitely not get this job back. But Yu Fengfeng disagrees. If it were me, I would get my job back even if I get divorced. Why should I be afraid of losing face if I have a job? Is face more important than salary? Lin Wanshu was a little surprised that she would say such a thing. At the same time, she liked her more. I agree with you. The economic base determines the superstructure. Only with income can you have confidence. Without income, even if she gave birth to 3 sons today, she would still be bullied. Unexpectedly, they would say such a thing, and the military wives looked at her sideways. Which woman is not afraid of divorce these days? If you get divorced, other people's spit can drown you. Sure enough, Huang Fengying, who was threatened with divorce, was immediately scared. If Zhou Tianzhu really divorced her, how could she survive with 3 burdens? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but regret her impulsiveness. Zhou Xiaoyan saw her panic-stricken look and felt an indescribable joy in her heart. So, what if she is from the city? Hasn't she been completely subdued by her mother? Don't think about work. If you give birth to a boy, you should stay at home and take good care of my grandson. If not, Hu Indi's voice became more and more sinister. Huang Fengying couldn't help trembling when she heard it.
I'm sorry.
Her face was as pale as a ghost, and she apologized in a trembling voice. Zhou Xiaoyan snorted and reached out to grab the basin from her hand. You want to eat meat? Give birth to a son first. If I hear what you said today again, you will pack up your things and get out of our Zhou family with your money-losing goods. Hu Indi said viciously and drove the person out of the kitchen. The military wives who were eavesdropping outside did not expect Hu Indi to drive people away. Before she could dodge, she saw Huang Fengying running out of the kitchen in a state of embarrassment. Huang Fengying had not expected that there were so many people eavesdropping outside. Instantly, humiliation and embarrassment surged up. This emotion reached its peak instantly after seeing Lin Wanshu in the crowd. Why was she there? Was she here to see her laugh? She was so timid just now, but now she was walking towards Lin Wanshu angrily with her big belly. It's all your fault. If you hadn't said those inexplicable things to me, how could I have mentioned work to my mother-in-law? You did it on purpose, right? Seeing that she was divorced, she was happy? Obviously, I'm already living such a miserable life. Why do you still want to frame me? Lin Wanshu. She just said that sentence unnecessarily. Your suffering is not caused by me, and I didn't ask you to give your job away. How you live has nothing to do with me. After all, we are not familiar with each other. The blisters on your feet are caused by walking, and you can't stand up by yourself. Who can you blame? That's right. We all advised you not to give up your job. What did you say? Now you regret it and blame others? Huang Fengying, this is not the way to be a good person. Wang Chunling said with some regret. When she first came to join the army, she and Huang Fengying got along well. But since she gave birth to several daughters one after another, the two of them gradually drifted apart. She watched the glamorous Huang Fengying turn into the skinny one now. It would be a lie to say that she was not heartbroken. And her words touched Huang Fengying's nerves. With a wow, she burst into tears. I know you all look down on me. I can't give birth to a son.
I'm useless. It's normal for you to laugh at me.
Lin Wanshu was speechless again. No one looks down on you. The one who really looks down on you is you. If you don't respect yourself, how can you expect others to respect you? As soon as these words fell, Huang Fengying's crying stopped abruptly, and the whole person was a little dazed. Has she always been the one who looked down on herself? Ever since she shared a room with Zhao Mingyuan, He Manxiang has been immersed in her own sweet world. Now she is his woman, and as long as she gives birth to a few sons, she can wait to win. Whenever she thinks of the future prosperity and wealth, He Manxiang can't help but smile. Although it is a pity that Qin Yan didn't die, but on second thought, it doesn't matter much. After all, a self-defense counterattack will break out in Yun province in a few years, and it is unclear whether he will be able to come back alive. She will be the wife of the richest man in the future, so there is really no need to waste her mind on those two people. With this time, she might as well find a way to let Zhao Mingyuan do business earlier. With his ability, He Manxiang believes that he will definitely let her live a good life early. These days, He Manxiang has been thinking in her heart how to persuade Zhao Mingyuan to do business earlier. For this reason, every time he wants to have with her, He Manxiang has tried her best. Even the tricks she learned in her previous life, she used them on him, without reservation. He Manxiang could feel that he liked it very much. That night, after serving the man diligently, He Manxiang approached him gently when he came back from washing. But she didn't dare to sleep next to him directly. Zhao Mingyuan had a problem. No matter how hot they were at night, he couldn't touch him when sleeping. Once she tried to sleep in his arms, but he kicked her off the bed. Until now, she still felt a dull pain in her thigh. But He Manxiang didn't think much about it, because she knew that rich people had some unknown problems. Zhao Mingyuan must be the same. When she was 10 centimeters away from Zhao Mingyuan, He Manxiang stopped and didn't move forward. The room was dark and nothing could be seen. Listening to his heavy breathing and thinking of the intimacy just now, He Manxiang's heart was filled with joy. After a pause, she spoke softly, "Brother Yuan, can we chat?" Zhao Mingyuan heard her pretentious voice and almost kicked her off the bed. Especially when he thought of Wang Yongxing's extremely satisfied voice just now, Zhao Mingyuan hated He Manxiang. He Manxiang didn't know that the man next to her was already glaring at her. Seeing that he didn't say anything, she didn't take it to heart. After all, he didn't say a word even when they were in the same room, so it wasn't surprising that he didn't say anything now. Today when I was at work, I heard people talking about the old dog in the team who ate white rice every day. Old Dog was Wang Fugui's nickname. In his previous life, he was the one who had the best life in the team except Zhao Mingyuan. Not only did he build a 2-story house in the team early on, but he also bought land in the city. Later, she heard from others that before the reform and opening up, the old dog had already secretly started a business. Since he could make money so early and live such a good life, her Zhao Mingyuan was so capable, he would definitely make more money. However, she didn't ask him to do business directly, but planned to arouse his interest little by little. But to her surprise, Zhao Mingyuan was not interested in this topic at all, but was very impatient. What does other people's business have to do with you? He Manxiang was a little unwilling. Brother Yuan, don't you want to eat white rice every meal? She was so greedy that her eyes were green with greed, eating sweet potatoes every day without any meat. TSK. He Manxiang, are you stupid or am I stupid? Don't you really know where his white rice comes from? In those days, the grain of every rural household was exchanged for work points at the end of the year. The total output was so limited that even those who earned full work points every day in the team could not eat white porridge every meal. Where did Lao Go get his white rice? You can figure it out with your toes. He Manxiang knew that Lao Go went to the black market to buy and sell. But since he was able to make money and later build a house, it means that the risk of doing so was not that great. Haven't you noticed that the attitude of the superiors has loosened since this year? They say that the bold will die of overeating and the timid will die of starvation. If we don't give it a try, how will we know if it works? Do you want to live this kind of life where you have no food to eat? Zhao Mingyuan didn't expect that a woman like her would be braver than him. It would be a lie for him to say that he was not shocked. But after the shock, he felt a little more disgusted in his heart. Women are really not good. They are selfish, cowardly, and greedy. She is so capable. Why doesn't she go herself? Isn't it because she knows that the business is dangerous and doesn't want to take risks, so she pushes him to go? Do you really think he is a fool? I'm not jealous of what others eat. If you are jealous, go and earn it yourself. I still need to sleep, don't bother me. After saying that, he didn't pay any attention to He Manxiang anymore and turned around. He Manxiang didn't expect that she had served so hard just now, but she didn't succeed in blowing pillow wind, and she was dumbfounded. How could he do this to herself? Wasn't her performance just now good enough? Looking at the dark roof, He Manxiang was filled with depression and unwillingness. It was as if she couldn't accept that she had gone to that extent, but still couldn't take him down. That night, He Manxiang suffered from insomnia again. Ji Qirong had just finished lunch at noon in a certain unit in Lan County and was about to go back to the dormitory. There were generally no female soldiers in units below the regiment level in the field army, but the situation in Lan County was special, and the organization dispatched dozens of female soldiers. The female soldiers were assigned to the communication company and the medical team respectively. However, male and female soldiers were not trained together, and most of the time they could not see each other, and they rarely met. Ji Chiurong belonged to the communication company. However, she was used to being alone on weekdays, and she didn't get close to anyone. The cafeteria was more than 100 meters away from the dormitory. As soon as she walked downstairs of the dormitory, Ji Chiurong was stopped by a female soldier. "Platoon Leader Ji, there is a call for you from Jing City." Hearing that it was a call from Jing City, Ji Chiurong's eyes flashed with surprise. But she still maintained a calm expression on her face. "I know." After saying that, she turned around and walked towards the communication room. Her dignified appearance made people admire her. Platoon Leader Ji was indeed from the Beijing compound. His aura was different from that of ordinary people. The female soldiers looked at her back with admiration. Ji Chiurong quickly came to the communication room and took the phone number handed over by another female soldier. She took a look and called back. The phone rang twice and was immediately picked up. "Hello, is this Romrom?" Hearing the voice of her mother Su Yajun on the other side, Ji Chiurong's eyes warmed. "Mom, it's me. Why are you calling me?" It has been a long time since she last saw her mother, and Ji Chiurong unconsciously showed the delicate look of a little girl. However, what responded to her was not some warm concern, but Su Yajun's somewhat urgent voice. "Romrom, tell Mom, did you go to see your Uncle Heping last month?" Hearing that her voice was wrong, Ji Chiurong was a little strange, but she still replied seriously. "I did look for him. What's wrong?" Just after she finished speaking, Su Yajun's somewhat angry voice came from the phone again. "You are confused. What did I tell you last month? You didn't listen to a word?" Hearing this, Ji Chiurong was stunned, and then she reluctantly dug out the words Su Yajun told her last time from her memory. "Mom, are you too nervous? Isn't my uncle doing well now?" She said that the higher-ups were going to take action against the cabinet committee, but she clearly saw that Uncle Heping was still as glorious as before. Other units had to avoid his limelight. Seeing that she had not yet realized the seriousness of the matter, Su Yajun was so angry that she almost couldn't breathe. But she couldn't explain it to her in detail on the phone from the army. In the end, she had to tell her vaguely that Li Heping was now listed as a key focus. Although Li Heping and she were cousins, they had been close in recent years. If something happened to him, she would not be in a good situation. How could this happen? Ji Chiurong, who had just looked calm and indifferent, even changed her tone. She had clearly asked him to help her with a small favor, but he solved it easily, and he didn't look like he had encountered any trouble at all. How could he suddenly be listed as a key target of attention? Anyway, keep a low profile. Don't think I don't know what you did with your uncle. Su Yajun's voice, suppressed with anger, was still ringing on the phone. Ji Chiurong's face was somewhat embarrassed when her secret was exposed. "Mom, how could you do this? You are invading my privacy." Su Yajun sneered and said, "If I don't ask clearly, how can I know that you are still holding on to that person?" Hearing this, Ji Chiurong became more embarrassed and ashamed. But she still needed the help of her mother, and even if she was dissatisfied, she could only endure it. "I know what I'm doing, so don't worry about it, okay? At most, I promise you that I won't go to Uncle Heping." Su Yajun saw that she was stubborn and yelled at her. Since she came to the army, Ji Chiurong has never been yelled at by her mother like this. She was stunned for a moment. You scolded me?" she asked in disbelief. She was already 24 years old and a platoon leader. Why did she scold herself like a child? Realizing that her tone was indeed a bit heavy, she paused, then slowed down her voice and advised earnestly. "What's so good about him? A country boy, how can you delay him until this age? Why did she have to hang herself on a tree like a ghost?" She was so noble that she refused to let herself help. Now that he has a child, she still hasn't let go. Su Yajun would be lying if she didn't feel bad for her daughter, who is in love with a man like this. Be obedient. Wait until you go home on vacation. I'll ask your Aunt Shin to introduce you to a partner, so you can get married soon. Seeing her bring this up again, Ji Chiurong got angry. Mom, if you're calling just to tell me this, then don't say it. How could she go back to Beijing and just find someone to marry? Those people are not him, and no one can compare to his style. From the moment she saw him on the first day of joining the army, Ji Qiurong fell deeply in love. But she has her own pride and reserve, and she can't do this shameless pursuit of men. The love she expects is that the other party is also amazed by her style. For this reason, she created countless encounters and even cut off the possibility of his contact with that woman. However, she still couldn't prevent it. When she went back to Beijing to visit her relatives, he actually went back to his hometown and got married with that woman. The day she learned the news, Ji Qiurong almost choked with blood. It's not like she hadn't tried to persuade herself to let it go, but she had failed every time. Ji Qiurong couldn't accept it. She was so outstanding. Why couldn't he see it? Su Yajun saw that she could not persuade this stubborn girl, and she felt helpless and distressed. After a long time, she said as if she had compromised, "Since you have made up your mind, I will not persuade you anymore, but don't look for your uncle recently. Tell me if you need anything." Unable to bear to see her trapped in love, Su Yajun once again offered to help her. And this time, Ji Qiurong did not refuse. The mother and daughter exchanged a few more words before hanging up the phone. On the other side, after staying in the family compound for a while, Lin Wanshu was already familiar with this place. She even knew most of the military wives in the family compound. She had already opened up the vegetable garden, and now she was planting a few kinds of vegetable seeds given by the military wives. She didn't plan to plant rice in the field for the time being, so she left it there for the time being. Early that morning, Lin Wanshu washed clothes as usual, and after having breakfast, she moved out the flower seedlings that had been planted in the corner of the yard a few days ago. They don't have walls here, only fences. Lin Wanshu felt that the privacy was not very good, so she planned to plant some green plants and flowers along the fence to block it. The most important thing is that there are too many mosquitoes here, so she also got some mosquito-repellent plants and planned to plant them together. Xiao Miao didn't know what her mother was doing, but it didn't affect her curiosity to follow Lin Wanshu's ace. When Lin Wanshu moved the flower seedlings, she also helped to move the empty pots. When Lin Wanshu took she also reached out to help lift it. The main focus is to accompany her. Lin Wanshu was also very patient. Every time she took something, she would tell her what it was. Xiao Miao was at the age of learning to speak. Her mother taught her a sentence, and she followed it in a baby voice. But her little tongue obviously didn't keep up with her little ears. What she heard was the flower pot, and what came out became happy. Lin Wanshu was so amused by her. She corrected it several times, but the little guy just couldn't say it correctly. In the end, she had no choice but to give up. She should wait for a bigger one. She couldn't ask too much of the baby, who was less than 1.5 years old. Qin Yan had just come out after washing the dishes when he saw two people, one big and one small, squatting under the fence. The big one held a fresh plant in his hand and planted it in the mud pit that had just been dug yesterday, while the small one stretched out two chubby little paws and grabbed the mud and threw it into the pit. The white and tender little hands were covered with mud, and her original skin color could no longer be seen. But she was having a lot of fun, and from time to time she would utter a baby language that no one could understand. The morning sun poured into this small courtyard, coating the mother and daughter with a layer of golden light. Looking at the warm scene in front of him, Qin Yan's heart softened. How incredible! She just walked into his world with a little life. Lin Wanshu had already noticed Qin Yan from the corner of her eye, and she couldn't help feeling a little strange when she saw that he hadn't moved. Raising her hand, which was also covered with mud, she called out to him, "Ian, come and help."
Okay.
A faint smile rose from the corner of his lips, but his eyes were like the vast stars, making people unable to resist and indulge in them. Boom, 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 resisting the urge to cover her heart, Lin Wanshu felt that her man was too foul. With the help of Xiao Miao, Lin Wanshu had planted 4 of the 6 seedlings and 2 were killed. The 2 flowers that died tragically were dug up by Xiao Miao with a shovel just after she planted them. She had no choice but to ask her to help fill the soil. As a result, The soil was thrown all over her legs and feet. Now, seeing the child's father coming over, she was also directing people without any courtesy. Just pick up the seedlings with the soil and transplant them into these pits. I'll find something for Xiao Miao Miao to eat. Otherwise, if she continues to help, she won't have these seedlings anymore. Okay, leave it to me, Qin Yan said, and moved a small stool, sat in the position where Lin Wanshu was just now, and took over her work. In fact, after this period of treatment, his legs have long been completely recovered. Not to mention squatting down to plant some green plants, even running and jumping directly is not a problem. This recovery speed can only be described as against the sky. If someone with ulterior motives knew that she had this kind of medicine, Qin Yan couldn't imagine what the consequences would be. Therefore, even though he had completely recovered, he usually pretended that his legs were not healed yet. Qin Yan was originally from a rural background, and he helped his family with farm work before joining the army. Planting flowers is naturally a piece of cake. Without Xiao Miao Miao's help, his speed in planting flowers is obviously not comparable to Lin Wanshu's level. After Lin Wanshu washed Xiao Miao Miao's paws and coaxed her with hawthorn sticks, she saw that there was only one seedling left in the whole pot. The man was holding the seedling in one hand and a shovel in the other. With a casual dig of the small shovel, a standard cylindrical pit covered the pit she had dug. Then, the seedling was casually placed in the pit, and the soil was filled, and a flower was planted. The whole process looked unhurried, but the row of flowers was like soldiers in the army, quickly returning to their positions and lining up neatly. Lin Wanshu even suspected that he had obsessive-compulsive disorder, otherwise why the distance between the two flowers was exactly the same as seen by the eye. It's planted. Is there anything else to do? Qin Yan asked after watering the last flower. Lin Wanshu pointed to the wall and said, "Plant all those flowers. I'll make you some medicine." Since he was capable of doing this job, Lin Wanshu gave him the job with a clear conscience. Qin Yan. Hearing that she was going to make medicine for him again, Qin Yan's eyebrows twitched, and he felt that she was wasting heaven's gift. "My leg is fine now, so you don't need to take the medicine." He couldn't help but call her. He didn't want to waste such precious medicine. "No, your leg hasn't healed yet. You have to continue taking the medicine, so as not to leave any problems." Hearing this, Qin Yan was silent again.
She
didn't seem to know how amazing the effect of the medicine she made was. Just like when he was in the hospital, the reaction when he took the medicine for the first time seemed to be beyond her expectations. This put Qin Yan in a dilemma. She didn't tell him her secret, and he didn't know what the secret was. If he rashly exposed this matter, he might scare her away. He couldn't bear such consequences at all. Finally, with a sigh in his heart, Qin Yan did not stop her from continuing to give him medicine. He did not know what the ingredients of the later medicine were. After he recovered, he took it again. Not only did it have no side effects, but it also had a strengthening effect. This effect was obviously not comparable to the medicine he took in the hospital. Lin Wanshu did not know that he had completely recovered. According to the efficacy of the medicine she prescribed later, he had to take it for another 2 days before he could stop taking it. After talking to Qin Yan, she went back to the kitchen to cook medicine. Xiao Miao Miao was holding a hawthorn stick in one hand and chewing it with relish. Perhaps because she had something to eat in her hand, she did not try to help her father again. The father and daughter planted flowers and ate hawthorn sticks. It was unknown how long it had been, but suddenly there was a small figure outside the fence. Xiao Miao Miao tilted her head curiously to look at her, and after a moment, she walked towards the other party with a swaying step. Outside the fence, Sanya tiptoed, looking anxiously in the yard, as if she was looking for someone. Xiao Miao Miao had come to the fence. She blinked her big eyes and looked at her fellow creatures of similar size outside. As she watched, she pushed the hawthorn stick in her hand through the gap in the fence. Squeak! She opened her small mouth with only 8 teeth and greeted the cubs of her fellow creatures enthusiastically. The hawthorn stick almost hit Sanya's face. Smelling the sour and sweet fragrance, she couldn't help swallowing her saliva. But after swallowing, she timidly took a step back. It was as if she was afraid that if she got too close, she would make the people inside cry and be driven away. Although she was only 2 years old and less than 3 years old, she already knew how to survive in the gap. Xiao Miaomiao still held the hawthorn stick in her hand. Seeing the other party retreat, her face was full of confusion and puzzlement. As if she didn't understand why she didn't want such a delicious thing, the little guy stretched her hand forward again. When Sanya saw the white and tender hands and the white and tender face, she subconsciously put her two dark hands behind her back.
No,
She said in a mosquito-like voice and shook her short-haired head blankly. Xiao Miaomiao has been in the family compound for more than a week, and she has captured the hearts of many little brothers, sisters, and aunts. When has she ever been rejected like this? The lonely little hand was still stretched out of the fence, and she pouted and cried aggrievedly. Hearing the baby's cry, the couple were startled and hurriedly put down the work in their hands and ran to Xiao Miaomiao one after the other. What's wrong with Miaomiao? Qin Yan was walking in the front. He thought Xiao Miaomiao had got her hand stuck in the fence, so he hurried to help her get it back carefully. Lin Wanshu, who was walking behind, just saw that her little one was fine, and she felt someone pulling her clothes. When she turned around, she met Sonya's expression that was about to cry.
Aunt, save.
My sister. Sonya also didn't know how to speak very well, and it was very difficult for her to say just a few words. But Lin Wanshu still heard it. Seeing that Sonya was about to cry, she had to ask, "You mean save your sister? What's wrong with her?" Sonya was probably still young and couldn't tell what was wrong with her sister. She grabbed Lin Wanshu like a life-saving straw and pulled her out desperately. Seeing that the situation was not right, Lin Wanshu didn't ask any more questions and quickly said to Qin Yan, "The medicine is ready. You just bring it out. I'll go see what's going on." After that, she quickly returned to the house, took out a bag, and then said to Sonya, "Where's your sister? You lead the way, I'll follow." Sanya knew that she wanted to help, so she excitedly ran ahead, and Lin Wanshu followed behind. The two walked out of the back door of the family compound. Before they reached the vegetable patch, they heard a curse from afar. "Huang Fengying, is there any mother like you? Arya has such a high fever. Why don't you send her to the clinic but take her to the fields to work?" Next to the vegetable patch, Huang Fengying had already dug up 2 rows of sweet potatoes. Arya was lying on the turned-up soil at this moment. Her limbs were stiff, her whole body was twitching. She could only see the whites of her eyes, and her face was purple. Daya was frightened, sitting on the ground crying and shouting for Arya. Huang Fengying, who was being scolded, was also frightened on the spot when she saw Arya twitching on the ground. How could this happen? I didn't know she had a fever. She muttered to herself, feeling a little helpless. In fact, something was wrong with Arya in the morning because she got up early every day, but today she didn't respond after being called for a long time. But Huang Fengying didn't care. She had to hurry to dig up the sweet potatoes in the field. After all, these sweet potatoes are usually eaten by her and her daughter. How could she not hurry up? But who would have thought that Arya fell to the ground after only 2 rows of sweet potatoes were dug? Hearing her say this, Yang Zheng became even angrier. Even if she is a girl, she came out of your belly, right? You just watch her burn like this? People will die, do you know? Hearing that people will die, an unknown fear surged into Huang Fengying's heart belatedly. Seeing Arya's face on the ground getting more and more purple, she couldn't hold it anymore. Arya, how are you? Don't scare your mother." As she spoke, she squatted down tremblingly, wanting to pick up Arya. Although she often thought that it would be better if they had not been born in her belly, Huang Fengying couldn't bear it when she heard that Arya might die. How could she not feel distressed? After all, she was a piece of flesh that fell from her body, and she was fed with her milk. How could she say that she had no feelings at all? If she was really cruel, she would not have tried her best to the newborn Arya from Huindi. I'm afraid she would really throw her into the bucket and drown her. Seeing her like this, Yang Zheng didn't know what to say. The most urgent thing was to send Arya to the health center as soon as possible. "You are heavy, let me hold you." Although she did not approve of Huang Fengying's usual practice, the child was innocent after all. She couldn't just watch Arya get into trouble. But before she could pick her up, she was interrupted anxiously by Lin Wanshu. She's still twitching. Don't hold her yet. The calm and decisive voice was like a shot of cardiotonic, making the two panicked people feel like they had found their backbone. Lin Wanshu walked up quickly and put Arya on a flat place. With both hands, she quickly unbuttoned her clothes, tilted her head to one side, and used her handkerchief to clean the secretions in her mouth and nose. As soon as the cavity was cleaned, Arya's purple face was instantly relieved. Seeing Lin Wanshu's calm and professional method, Yang Zheng was stunned. If she hadn't seen her still rescuing people, she would have wanted to ask her if she was a doctor before she joined the army. Huang Fengming was so confused at the moment that she couldn't care about much. Seeing that Arya's complexion had improved, she couldn't help but shed tears. Regardless of the many unpleasantness with others before, Huang Fengming pleaded, "Comrade Wanshu, please, save my Arya." Seeing that she didn't seem to be completely hopeless, Lin Wanshu's dislike for her finally decreased a little. "I'll try my best, but she still has to be sent to the health center for treatment." When Huang Fengming heard that she had to be sent to the clinic, her first thought was how much money it would cost. She didn't have a penny on her. But this thought died when she saw Arya still twitching. She gritted her teeth and said, "I'll go back and ask my mother-in-law for money. Can you help me send her to the clinic first?" Of course, they couldn't refuse to help with this. "You go ahead, I'll take it there for you later." Yang Zheng waved at her. Hearing this, Huang Fengming was relieved. Not caring about her belly that was about to give birth, she turned around and walked quickly to the family compound. Daya looked at her from behind, her whole body a little dazed. Is this still the mother she knows? Did she really cry just now? Just thinking about this, suddenly, her mind flashed again, with the gentle look of her telling her stories when she was young. But with the birth of Arya and Sonya, she slowly changed. Not only was she no longer gentle, but she also flew into a rage every day, either beating or scolding them. Every time she saw her hideous appearance, Daya couldn't help but wonder, is the mother who told her stories gently in her memory really the one in front of her? Later, Daya gradually became sensible and understood why she became like this. It's all their fault. Why aren't they sons? If they were sons, their mother wouldn't have to be beaten and scolded by their grandmother, and she wouldn't have to go hungry every day. Daya didn't blame her. She only blamed they were unlucky, not having a man and not being able to get the grandmother's care. Therefore, even if she had to work non-stop every day with an empty stomach, she endured it silently. Now, seeing her mother crying, Daya suddenly felt that the mother in her memory had returned.
Mom.
Daya shouted in her heart, and her tears had already wet her cheeks. But no one noticed Daya's emotions. Lin Wanshu took out a leather bag from her bag. After opening the bag, rows of needles were neatly inserted inside. She took out a 3-edged needle and then took out disinfectant. After disinfecting the needle, she followed the method recorded in the medical book and pierced Arya's 12 well points respectively. The 3-edged needle is specially used for bloodletting. After each needle was inserted, Lin Wanshu pressed with her hands to squeeze out some blood. After the blood was released from the 12 acupuncture points, Arya, who had been twitching, finally stopped. Yang Zheng's jaw dropped to the ground. "Wanshu, are you really a doctor? Why have I never heard you say that?" If she had known that there was such a great doctor in the family compound, why would she have had to go to the clinic these days? After all, that disease is so embarrassing. If she couldn't bear it anymore, she would be too embarrassed to go to the doctor. Lin Wanshu. My grandfather is a doctor, but I'm not one yet. I'll take the medical qualification exam after a while. After all, it's not a solution to always be like this. But people of this era don't care whether you have a qualification certificate or not. When Yang Zheng heard that Lin Wanshu's grandfather was a doctor, she subconsciously thought that since it was inherited from her ancestors, she must have real skills. Didn't you see that he snatched Arya back from the gates of Hades in a few moves? Facing Yang Zheng's admiring eyes, Lin Wanshu was silent for a moment, and in the end, she didn't explain anything, and picked up Arya to send her to the clinic. On the other side, Huang Fengming finally returned home, after hurrying. Regardless of the tightness in her stomach, she found Huindi, who was eating egg porridge in the kitchen, and said anxiously, "Mom, Arya has a high fever. Give me some money. I'll take her to the clinic. Hu Indi, who was enjoying the egg porridge happily, was interrupted by Huang Fengying, and she felt a little unhappy. She raised her drooping eyelids slightly, and she uttered 2 words slowly. No money. Although she was mentally prepared, Huang Fengying was still disappointed when she was rejected. How could she be like this? Isn't Arya her granddaughter? Isn't she Zhou Tianju's own flesh and blood? But she couldn't say this. If she said it, she would definitely not get the money today. Thinking of this, her face became more pleading. Mom, I don't ask for much, just 3. No, just $1. Give it to me first, just think of it as a loan for me, okay? Hearing this, Hu Indi showed a sarcastic smile on her face. After looking up and down at Huang Fengying, who was dressed in tattered and embarrassed clothes, she paused and said with disgust, You borrow money from me? Do you have the ability to pay it back? Huang Fengying naturally had no money. The little money she had saved before getting married, she had spent it all on this family over the years. Now, she couldn't even take out a penny. Huang Fengying didn't expect that she had devoted her heart and soul to this family, but in the end, she lost so completely. But now was not the time to argue with Hu Indi. She was afraid that if she delayed any further, even if Arya was not in danger of life, her brain would be burned out. With red eyes, Huang Fengying held her tight stomach with her hands and knelt down with difficulty. Mom, I beg you, please be kind and give me $1. Although Arya's arrival made her despised, beaten, and scolded, she was brought into this world by herself after all.
How could she watch her die?
However, Huang Fengying's pleading did not win Hu Indi's sympathy. Seeing her kneeling in front of her, Hu Indi felt secretly happy. So, what if she is a girl from the city? In the end, she was still squeezed and flattened by her? Huang Fengying looked at the arrogant Hu Indi in front of her, and somehow her mind flashed back to her appearance when she first saw her. At that time, Hu Indi was wearing a coarse cloth dress that was washed white and a pair of worn cotton shoes on her feet. Her face was full of flattering smiles, and her hands were so cramped that she didn't know what to do. When did the positions of the 2 people switch? How did she live so humbly? Huang Fengying clenched her fists at some point, but she was still trying her best to persuade herself not to be impulsive and to save Arya first. Mom, please, Arya will get burned to death if she doesn't go to the doctor. Hu Indi didn't say anything and continued to eat her egg porridge slowly. Huang Fengying didn't dare to get up, so she begged and waited anxiously. Seeing that the bowl of egg porridge was finally finished, her eyes sparkled with hope. Mom, go get me the money. Arya is still waiting. With her hands on her belly, she took a few steps on her knees with difficulty and continued to beg. And Hu Indi seemed to have finally enjoyed her pleading. With a lukewarm smile on her face, she slowly spoke when the light of hope in Huang Fengying's eyes reached its peak. I don't have any money. You're just a loss-making commodity. Even if you get burned to death, I can save food. After saying that, she turned around and was about to leave the kitchen. Her words were like the last straw that broke the camel's back. With a boom, Huang Fengying's only remaining bit of rationality was instantly swallowed up by anger. With her belly about to give birth, she stood up quickly and rushed towards Hu Indi. Before she could react, Huang Fengying reached out and grabbed her collar and roared. Why don't you give me money? That's the money my man earns. Arya is his child. He has the obligation and responsibility to pay for the child's medical treatment. While roaring, she shook Hu Indi hard. How could Hu Indi expect Huang Fengying to suddenly go crazy? Her collar was pulled tightly, and she felt that breathing became a little difficult. Cough. Cough. Hurry up.
Let go.
She struggled as she spoke. But the humiliation of being beaten and scolded for many years burst out in an instant, making Huang Fengying fall into madness. How could she break free so easily? At this time, Huang Fengying had lost her reason, and the only thing left was the words it's better to let the money-losing guy die. Why do you look down on me? Look down on my Arya. Aren't you a woman, and your daughter is not a woman? Why can you eat meat every now and then, but we mother and daughter can only eat bran and vegetables? Now my area is dying, and you won't even give me $1? Why do you humiliate us like this? At the end, she wanted to strangle this evil woman to death. What right did she have to treat her like this? Just because she was her mother-in-law? Hu Yindi didn't expect that the frail Huang Fengying would be so strong. The collar was pulled tighter and tighter, and she could no longer breathe from her throat. The feeling of being on the verge of death made her fall into great panic.
Crazy.
Huang Fengying is a lunatic. She must make her son divorce her and drive this crazy woman out. Even though she was about to die, Hu Yindi did not forget to ruin Huang Fengying's reputation. It would be best if the whole world laughed at her as an abandoned lunatic. The noise of the quarrel between the two soon attracted the military wives nearby. Seeing that Hu Yindi's eyes had rolled back, Wang Chunling was shocked.
Huang Fengying.
Let go of her. She's going to die. As she spoke, she rushed forward to pull her hands apart. But Huang Fengying had lost her mind, and the only thought in her mind was to let Hu Yindi die. She was the one who deserved to die. Without her, her eldest, second, and third daughters would not be despised by others. They could also eat white rice porridge and even a bite of eggs. You deserve to die. Hu Yindi, why don't you die? As she spoke, she tightened her strength. Wang Chunling was frightened by her actions. Seeing that she couldn't pry her hands apart, she shouted at her. You can't strangle her to death. If she dies, you will go to jail. Your third daughter is still so young, what about her? The two words Sanya were like a spell to lift a curse, and Huang Fengying's head, which was filled with anger, instantly sobered up. Wang Chunling saw this, and quickly pulled her hand away. Cough, cough, cough. Hu Yindi, who had escaped death, gasped violently. Her lungs, which had been extremely short of oxygen just now, suddenly absorbed fresh air, and she couldn't help coughing. Over the years, Huang Fengying has always been cowardly and easy to manipulate. How could Hu Yindi have suffered such a big loss? When she finally caught her breath, she could no longer control the anger in her heart. Before others could react, Hu Yindi slammed into Huang Fengying.
Witch.
Go to Hades. Although the military wives present were on guard, they were afraid that Hu Yindi would retaliate against Huang Fengying. But they still didn't expect that she would use so much force to hit her daughter-in-law, who was about to give birth. Be careful. Wang Chunling quickly pulled Huang Fengying over, but it was still a little late. There was a loud bang, and a huge impact force came. Half of Huang Fengying's body and the whole person fell heavily towards Wang Chunling. Wang Chunling by Huang Fengying and lost her balance. They both fell to the ground, and Huang Fengying bled on the spot. Fengying. The military wives were all scared. Seeing that Hu Yindi was going to hit their daughter-in-law, they hurried forward to pull her away. Let me go. I won't be named Hu if I don't hit this witch to death today. Hu Yindi was held up, but she was unwilling to give up. She struggled and cursed. Huang Fengying, who fell to the ground, was pale. She covered her stomach and wailed in pain. A warm current was flowing out rapidly from under her ace. Realizing that her water had broken, Huang Fengying's eyes flashed with fear. The child was only 8.5 months old, and it was not time for delivery yet. Hu Yindi, who had no time to shout, grabbed Wang Chunling's hand and begged, Chunling, save my child. Wang Chunling was dizzy from the fall just now. She finally got up and saw that Huang Fengying's amniotic fluid had broken. For a moment, she was panicked.
You.
Don't worry, I'll find a board to lift you. She only has a junior high school education and has a little more common sense than the average military wife. Naturally, she knows that it is very dangerous when the amniotic fluid breaks. At this time, the mother can only lie flat to prevent the amniotic fluid from continuing to flow out and causing fetal hypoxia. But Hu Yindi didn't know whether she was uneducated and had no common sense, or she was really angry. Seeing that her daughter-in-law's amniotic fluid had broken, she still didn't want to let her go. You are not allowed to save her. Let her die. Our Shou family can't afford such a daughter-in-law. Hu Yindi's face was frighteningly ferocious, as if she wanted to strangle Huang Fengying to death on the spot. Zhong Fengshu felt a chill in her heart. She held her hand and continued to exert force until Hu Indi was completely suppressed and unable to move. Then she said with a cold face, "If she dies in your hands, your son's career in the army will be over. He can't even settle the affairs at home, and someone died. Even if the superiors want to use him, they have to think twice. After all, the army has no shortage of capable people. Who would hire someone with a messy family situation when there are better options?" Hearing that it would affect her son's future, Hu Indi's head, which was filled with anger, finally regained some rationality. Looking at Huang Fengying, who was covered in blood and amniotic fluid, she stepped back suddenly, and her face finally showed a little more fear.
No.
"It's none of my business. It's all her fault. Who asked her to strangle me first?" she said in panic and took 2 steps back. Zhong Fengshu no longer cared about these words. Seeing that Hu Indi finally stopped clamoring to kick Huang Fengying to death, she let go of her hand and walked to Huang Fengying. At this moment, Huang Fengying's face became paler and her forehead was covered with sweat. The amniotic fluid under her body was still flowing. She was shocked and scared, but she still comforted her belly. "Baby, wait for your mother. We will go to the hospital soon. You'll be fine." Jian Hongmian found a relatively flat piece of wood and placed it directly under Huang Fengying's buttocks to prevent further loss of amniotic fluid. After waiting for a while, Huang Fengying brought a wooden board, followed by Ji Hualan. Several people worked together to lift Yu Fengfeng onto the board and then carried her out of the kitchen. Hu Indi looked at the amniotic fluid dripping on the ground, and she didn't know what she thought of, so she followed. Lin Wanshu just sent Arya to the military clinic. Hearing that the child had a high fever and convulsions, Zhang Qingfeng did not dare to neglect it. After putting the child on the bed in the treatment room, he asked about the situation. Knowing that Lin Wanshu had just performed bloodletting treatment on the child, Zhang Qingfeng looked up at her several times. However, he did not hastily criticize her for doing it wrong. After all, this is the army, and more brutal treatments are common on the battlefield. Zhang Qingfeng even saw a wounded person's heart stop beating during an open surgery, and the doctor simply pinched the heart with his bare hands to perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And all these rough measures were just to keep the soldiers alive first. Only if they survive can the next step of treatment be carried out. After examining Arya, Zhang Qingfeng said to Lin Wanshu with an admiring look on his face, "You handled it very well. Fortunately, you acted in time. Otherwise the child would be in danger now." Hearing that Arya was out of danger, Lin Wanshu and Yang Zheng both breathed a sigh of relief. Daya and Sonia had been following the 2 adults. Sonia was still young and didn't understand, but Daya understood. Knowing that her second sister was fine, she turned around and secretly wiped away her tears. She was so afraid that her sister, who depended on her for everything, would die just like that. After Zhang Qingfeng took Arya's temperature, he prepared to give her an injection in the buttocks. However, just as the injection was prepared, there was a commotion at the door. "Dr. Zhang, hurry up and save her. Comrade Huang Fengying's water broke." Huang Fengying had an argument with Hu Indi and was knocked down and had her water broken, which was something no one expected. Lin Wanshu knew that Hu Indi was cruel, but she didn't expect her to be so cruel. Not only did she refuse to pay for her granddaughter's medical treatment, but now she knocked Huang Fengying into labor prematurely. Hearing that someone was about to give birth, 2 nurses ran out immediately. The nurses were obviously well-trained, and they were pushing a stretcher in their hands. Normally, the Army's clinic does not support delivery, but after a case of a woman who fell and could not get to the county town in time to give birth, resulting in 1 death and 2 lives, the clinic added an extra delivery room. As long as it is an emergency delivery and there is no time to send her to the county hospital, she can be sent here for temporary delivery. For this purpose, the superiors also specially transferred a female doctor who can deliver babies. "Carry her up." After the nurse finished speaking, the wives of the soldiers immediately helped to lift the person onto the stretcher. Huang Fengying was already in so much pain that her consciousness was a little blurred, and her hair was wet with cold sweat, but she didn't care about these. The water under her body was still flowing, as if the little life in her belly was slipping away bit by bit. When she thought of this, endless panic surged in her heart. Grabbing the hand of the person next to her randomly, she begged, "Please, you must save my child." Lin Wanshu looked at Huang Fengying, whose body was covered in blood and amniotic fluid, with complicated feelings. While catching up with the cart, she patted Huang Fengying's hand and comforted her. "A doctor will help you deliver the baby later, and your baby will be fine." Huang Fengying's eyes suddenly widened when she didn't expect that the person she grabbed was Lin Wanshu. Looking at the gentle face in front of her, suddenly, an indescribable shame surged in her heart. "I'm sorry, I was too narrow-minded before. I have clearly provoked her time and time again, but she didn't hold a grudge and not only helped her save Arya, but now she also came to comfort me." Huang Fengying was so ashamed of herself. Lin Wanshu did not expect that at this time, she would still have the mind to apologize to her. Looking at Huang Fengying with a face full of shame in front of her, her mood became more and more complicated. "It doesn't matter. The most important thing for you now is to give birth to the baby first, and we can talk about other things later. The clinic is not very big, but the delivery room is set up separately." Lin Wanshu followed the stretcher to the door of the delivery room, then stopped and watched Huang Fengying being pushed in by the nurse. After a while, the doctor Wang Limei also walked into the delivery room quickly. Several military wives were waiting at the door, looking at the door of the delivery room with a nervous look. At the door of the clinic, Hu Indi poked her head out and looked inside with a guilty look. Dia found Hu Indi and hugged Sonia in fear, shivering and shrinking behind the bed where Arya was lying. In the delivery room, Wang Limei's face became a little solemn after learning that the baby in Huang Fengying's belly was only 8.5 months old. This month is still too early, and it is unknown whether the baby's fetal position is correct. In this era, there was no B ultrasound, and to determine whether the fetal position is correct, one can only rely on touch. Without delay, she stretched out her hand and began to feel on her belly. Huang Fengying's heart almost rose to her throat. As the old saying goes, 7 lives and 8 lives. If the child is born at this time, it is still unknown whether it can be raised. "Doctor, how is it? Is my baby in the head position?" After all, she is the mother of 3 children, so she naturally knows what Wang Limei is touching. After Wang Limei touched her belly, her heart sank completely. "Your fetus is in an abnormal position. You must be sent to the county hospital for surgery immediately." Hearing that the baby's fetal position was abnormal, Huang Fengying's originally pale face turned as white as a piece of paper. "How can the fetus be in an abnormal position? Doctor, feel it again. It would be too late to go to the county hospital now." Wang Limei understood her feelings, but she didn't have time to comfort people now. She hurriedly walked out of the delivery room and said to the outside, "Who is the family member of the Praetoriant? The Praetoriant's fetus is in an abnormal position. She must be sent to the county hospital for surgery immediately." Hearing that the baby was going to be operated on, Hu Indi jumped out before the other military wives said anything. "I'm her mother-in-law. I don't agree with her having surgery. Let her give birth directly. Don't think she doesn't know how much the operation will cost. Is she worthy of using their family's money?" Wang Limei is a doctor and has seen many strange things. She was not surprised by Hu Indi's words. The fetus is in breech position and the mother's pelvis is too narrow, so she can't give birth directly. She explained patiently. If the pelvis is larger, they can still try, but they still face great risks. But Hu Indi didn't listen to her at all. "Duan, talk to me about that. It's not like I haven't seen it before. There was a person in our village who came out feet first. He was able to give birth, so why can't she?" She looked like she would never let Huang Fengying go to the county for operation. The military wives listened to her absurd words, looked at her mean face, and suddenly their fists hardened. "Aunt Hu, why are your words different from last year? Didn't you say that when your daughter gave birth to your grandson, she was in breech position, and you were afraid that she would be in danger, so you asked her to have an operation directly to carry the baby out? Why did you change when it came to your daughter-in-law?" Hearing this, Hu Indi's face suddenly froze, and then she said with some guilt, "Then, how can they be the same? Zhou Xiaoyan is her daughter." Huang Fengying is not only full of money-losing goods, but she almost strangled her to death just now. She must be crazy to spend money to have surgery on her. Even though they knew what kind of person Hu Yindi was, at this moment, the military wives were still shocked by her shamelessness. It turned out that her daughter was her daughter, and other people's were just straw. But Hu Yindi was Huang Fengying's family member after all. If she disagreed, the military wives had no right to interfere with how she gave birth. Wang Limei saw that Hu Yindi was not moved by any soft or hard words and finally had no choice but to send someone to find Zhou Tianzhu. Fortunately, Zhou Tianzhu came quickly. Hearing that his wife was going to give birth again, he was still looking forward to it in his heart. What if this baby is a son? With this expectation, he walked quickly and arrived at the clinic in less than 10 minutes. As soon as he entered the door, Zhou Tianzhu went straight to the door of the delivery room. "Hello, sisters-in-law." Seeing a row of military wives waiting at the door, he was somewhat flattered and greeted them. He didn't expect that so many military wives would come here to wait for his wife to give birth. How could Zhou Tianzhu not be surprised? However, when the military wives heard his greeting, they all rolled their eyes. Zhou Tianzhu didn't understand, and didn't know when he had offended so many military wives. But before he could figure it out, someone grabbed his clothes. "Son, tell the doctor quickly, Huang Fengying can't have surgery and hold the baby." Hu Yindi pulled Zhou Tianzhu and ordered with a strong face. Wang Limei happened to come out too. She didn't pay attention to Hu Yindi's words. Seeing Zhou Tianzhu coming, she quickly told him about Huang Fengying's situation. She must be sent to the county hospital for surgery immediately. The mother has lost too much amniotic fluid. If she delays any longer, the child will be in danger. Hearing that the child would be in danger, Zhou Tianzhu's heart sank. He was about to agree, but was interrupted by Hu Yindi. "You can't have a cesarean section. Who knows if she is giving birth to a son? What if it is a girl again? It will be difficult to have another baby after the cesarean section." Hearing that she might not be able to have children again after the operation, Zhou Tianzhu hesitated again. "Doctor, is there really no other way to let her give birth naturally?" Seeing Zhou Tianzhu's attitude, the military wives on the side couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. They couldn't even decide their own lives, but instead handed the decision to two people who were not related by blood. How ridiculous! Wang Limei's face was not good. "Your wife has lost a lot of amniotic fluid now. If you delay any longer, both the adult and the child will be in danger. How can you give birth to a son?" In the ward, Huang Fengying's stomach hurt more and more. When she heard Zhou Tianzhu was coming, she felt like she had found her backbone and thought she was saved. But she never expected to hear such words. In an instant, her heart fell into an ice cellar. A chill spread from her heart and flowed to her limbs. This is the man she insisted on marrying? How ridiculous! In his heart, her life is not even as important as those follicles that have not yet appeared. At this moment, she no longer wants to save the life in her belly. She feels so tired. It is probably a lucky thing to die like this. Huang Fengying stopped wailing, just staring at the ceiling with her big eyes, as if the pain in her stomach no longer existed. Zhou Tianzhu was scolded, and his face was a little embarrassed. "Dr. Wang, I don't understand these. Just do what you say." Although he was very afraid that he would not be able to have a son, Zhou Tianzhu still had some concerns. If Huang Fengying had an accident because of him, his military career would be over. Seeing that he was not hopeless, Wang Limei's complexion finally improved. "Go find a car. She must be sent to the hospital as soon as possible. There is no delay." "Okay, I'll find it now." Zhou Tianzhu nodded and prepared to find a car. Hu Yindi didn't expect that he would not listen to her. She was immediately anxious and hurriedly reached out to hold him.
"Son, you're confused.
How could you agree to let her have surgery? Don't you think about yourself?" Hu Yindi didn't hold out any hope for Huang Fengying's baby because she was so pregnant with a girl. Other people's bellies are pointed when they are pregnant with a son, but her belly is so round. It must be another money-losing baby. That's why she still asked Huang Fengying to fetch water to water the vegetables even when she was about to give birth. She had long wanted her to abort the baby in her belly. But this thing was very stubborn and couldn't be tossed out no matter what. Now that the amniotic fluid had broken, it was exactly what Hu Yindi wanted. It would be better if the baby died so that she could get pregnant with the next one right after giving birth. With this idea in mind, she tightly grasped Zhou Tianju's arm to prevent him from calling a car. Being held back, Zhou Tianju looked a little embarrassed. It's not that he wasn't worried about the result his mother said, but he couldn't do anything too excessive in front of everyone. Mom, let go first. I'll call a car to take Fengying to the hospital, and we'll talk about other things later. Zhou Tianju didn't even have the heart to say anything harsh. He just patiently persuaded Hu Yindi. It was as if the person in the delivery room who was waiting to be sent to the county hospital in a hurry was not his wife. The military wives couldn't stand it anymore. Hu Yindi, if you hadn't hit Fengying so hard just now, how could the baby in her belly be born prematurely? Now you still want to stop her from going to the county hospital, which makes me have to suspect that you have planned to kill her all along. Wang Chunling pointed at Hu Yindi's nose and cursed angrily. Zhou Tianju was shocked to hear that Huang Fengying was born prematurely because of her mother. Mom, how could you hit her? If any military wife goes to the political commissar to tell this, wouldn't it kill him? It is related to his own future. Zhou Tianju's face changed.
She started it first.
If she hadn't almost strangled me to death, how could I have hit her? Hu Yindi didn't think she had done anything wrong. She was a daughter-in-law who dared to be so harsh to her mother-in-law. Hitting her was the least of her worries. We all saw it with our own eyes. Fengying has been married into your family for so many years. She has been diligent and hardworking, and she doesn't even dare to speak loudly. It must be you who did something excessive that made her act like that. I just heard it at home. Fengying asked Hu Yindi for $1 to treat Arya. Not only did she not give it, she also said that it would be fine if she was burned to death. I guess Fengying couldn't stand it after hearing this. Zhong Fengshu said from the side. As soon as she finished speaking, the eyes of everyone in the clinic were not right when looking at the mother and son. Captain Zhou, I remember that you have a salary of 70 or 80 yuan every month, right? Why, is your family so poor that you can't even take out $1 to treat your daughter? If it's really that difficult, just ask and I'll lend it to you. Wang Chunling didn't expect the truth of the matter to be like this. She was already dissatisfied with Hu Yindi's bullying, and now she is even more furious. Hearing the words of the military wives, Zhou Tianju's clothes were soaked with cold sweat. If Huang Fengying had just accidentally fallen and had a premature birth, it would not have much to do with him. Now it involves his mother not only hitting her pregnant daughter-in-law, but also refusing to give Qian Arya medical treatment. He dared not think about what the consequences would be if the political commissar knew about this. There must be some misunderstanding here. The most urgent thing now is to send Fengying to the county hospital first. I will find out when I come back. He who had been patiently persuading Hu Yindi just now he couldn't care about much, and struggled directly. He said anxiously, Mom, let go. I'll go find a car. After all, Zhou Tianju trains regularly. If he really struggles, how can Hu Yindi catch him? In a few seconds, he broke free from his restraints and rushed out of the clinic. Looking at her son's back as he left, Hu Yindi stomped her feet in anger, but no one paid any attention to her. Not long after, the military jeep arrived. Several people worked together to lift Huang Fengying into the car. Hu Yindi wanted to get in, but was stopped by Lin Wanshu. Aunt Hu, the nurse has to take care of her in the back. If you can't help, don't go. Other military wives, upon seeing this, also rushed forward to grab Hu Yindi, to prevent her from following and causing trouble. The nurse was even more agile. She climbed directly into the car and slammed the door shut. She urged the driver to set off quickly. The young soldier was also not vague. He stepped on the accelerator and flew out. Seeing the car drive away like this, Hu Yindi was very unwilling, but she had no choice but to watch the car speed away. After the car drove out, Zhou Tianju, who was sitting in the passenger seat, looked back at Huang Fengying. When he saw clearly that her face was pale without a trace of blood, He was immediately shocked.
Fengying, how are you?
Huang Fengying, who was lying in the car, was a little conscious at the moment. She didn't know whether the fluid flowing from her body was amniotic fluid or blood. If it were in the past, she would have been happy for several days after hearing Zhou Tianju's concerned voice. But now, she was calm and even wanted to laugh. Laugh at her own stupidity. She originally thought that she would marry a country boy and he would cherish and love her. Unexpectedly, she ended up living a joke. She had been living like this for several years and was still full of guilt. Huang Fengying closed her eyes and said nothing. Seeing her like this, Zhou Tianju inexplicably had a bad premonition in his heart. He wanted to say something, but was afraid that she would ignore him. Finally, he had to swallow the words in his mouth. The car bumped along the winding mountain road. The nurse dutifully gave her oxygen. After an unknown amount of time, they finally arrived at the county hospital. Knowing that the patient's amniotic fluid had broken or that she was a premature breech, the hospital did not dare to be careless and immediately arranged a cesarean section for her. This was Zhou Tianju's fourth child, but his mood had never been as complicated as it was at this moment. Thinking back to Huang Fengying's indifferent look just now, he felt a little uneasy. It seemed that something was changing. The operation time seemed to be particularly long and difficult, and Zhou Tianju paced back and forth at the door. After an unknown amount of time, the door of the delivery room finally opened. Who is the family member of the pregnant woman Huang Fengying? I am. Did my wife give birth? Is it a boy or a girl? Zhou Tianju rushed forward with excitement. It's a boy. Midwife Lao Ku was interrupted before she could finish her words. Really? My wife really gave birth to a son for me? Ha ha ha. I have a son. Hearing that it was a boy, Zhou Tianju was so excited that he almost jumped up. When he thought about having a son, he felt so happy, as if he was walking on clouds, light and airy. When Lao Ke saw the excited man in military uniform in front of her, a trace of pity flashed across her face. But after a pause, she spoke again. I'm sorry. The mother lost too much amniotic fluid, and it was too late to send the baby here. The baby was dead when we took him out. We tried to rescue him, but we couldn't save him. You. Accept my condolences. For fear of being interrupted again, she spoke quickly and clearly. As soon as these words fell, Zhou Tianju, who was originally dancing with excitement, suddenly froze in place, as if he had been acupunctured. You. What did you say? He suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. His son. How could it be possible? This is impossible. The 3 daughters were born smoothly before, so how could his son die? Doctor, are you kidding? When he came to his senses, he stared at Lao Ke with red eyes. Although Lao Ke was used to seeing life and death, she still felt sorry for this woman in labor. The woman's amniotic fluid is almost gone, and the fetus has been lacking oxygen in the stomach for a while. If it had been sent to the baby 10 minutes earlier, it might have been saved. Hearing this, Zhou Tianju was struck by lightning. 10 minutes earlier. Isn't that the time when he just arrived at the clinic? If his mother hadn't stopped him, and he had directly found a car to send Huang Fengying here, would his son have survived? Or, if his mother hadn't hit his wife, then his son could have waited until full term to be born smoothly. Thinking of this, Zhou Tianju seemed unable to bear and his whole body was a little shaky. How could this happen? My son. He had been looking forward to seeing his son for so long, but his son was gone just like that? Zhou Tianju couldn't accept this fact at all. Doctor, please find a way to save him. Save my son. Coming back to his senses, he grabbed Lao Ke's arm tightly, his bloodshot eyes full of pleading. Lao Ke felt that his arm was about to be broken, and he couldn't help frowning in pain. Seeing this, the nurse rushed forward to help, trying to pry Zhou Tianju's hand open. Family of the Praetoriant, please calm down. We have tried our best, and we will never give up if we can rescue the baby. It was just a short delay, and as medical staff they were also heartbroken. The young soldier Xiao Li, who was driving, also hurried forward to persuade them. Captain Zhou, let go quickly. Don't pinch the doctor's hand. This hand is going to be used for surgery to save lives. How can you pinch it so hard? I don't know if it's because Xiaoli is stronger, but with his help, Zhou Tianju's hand was finally pried open. But even though it was pried open, his whole body was like a body without a soul, dazed. Family member, please accept my condolences. The woman in labor is not in good condition now and needs your care. Although her hand was still in great pain from being pinched, Lao Ke still persuaded her diligently. However, Zhou Tianju's mind was full of the words that his son was gone, so how could he have the mood to take care of other things? Lao Ke's words were destined to fall on deaf ears. Lao Ke saw that this was not going to work, so he asked the little soldier next to him, "Are there any other family members of the woman in labor coming over? She has lost too much blood and needs someone to take care of her." Xiaoli shook his head awkwardly. The situation was urgent just now. In addition to Zhou Tianju and a nurse, where were the other family members? Hearing this, Lao Ke frowned again. It won't work without family members. You'd better find someone to take care of her. Having said that, she did not stay any longer and turned back to the delivery room. In the delivery room, Huang Fengming's wound was sutured by herself. At this moment, she was also in a daze, staring at the ceiling without blinking. She had been given local anesthesia for the cesarean section just now. Although her consciousness was a little fuzzy, she still heard the doctor's words. It was indeed a son in her belly, but he did not survive. Because of the loss of amniotic fluid, the child died directly in the stomach due to lack of oxygen. Huang Fengming wanted to laugh. How absurd it was that Hu Yindi's long-cherished grandson died at her hands. Huang Fengming thought she would be sad and would not be able to bear it. But when she heard the bad news, she found that she was not as sad as she imagined. With her eyes half lowered, Huang Fengming seemed to listen quietly to the precautions given by the doctor. In fact, her mind had long drifted away. The news that Huang Fengming gave birth to a dead baby boy by cesarean section was passed back to the family compound that afternoon. The military wives were shocked and distressed. Hu Yindi really deserves to die. She had a good life, but she had to make trouble. Now, isn't it? She has ruined her grandson. Who said it wasn't? Arya was burned like that, but she refused to pay even $1 for a doctor's visit. She also hit her daughter-in-law like that. I think this is retribution. The military wives talked about it one after another. The news soon reached Hu Yindi's ears. When she heard that Huang Fengming's baby was really a grandson, but the baby was suffocated to death in her stomach because of the delay of more than 10 minutes, she almost went crazy. How is it possible? Is the baby in her stomach really a boy? Hu Yindi covered her heart with her hands and widened her eyes, as if she couldn't accept what she heard. How could it be false? Xiaoli asked me to bring this to you. He said that he was at the door of the delivery room today and heard what the doctor said with his own ears. Seeing Hu Yindi about to faint, Yang Zheng felt a little happy, but more of a pity for Huang Fengming. Obviously, she could live a glamorous life on her own, but in the end, she ended up like this. Rather than saying that Hu Yindi is really hateful, it is better to say that she is too weak. Yang Zheng left after saying that, leaving Hu Yindi staggering and sitting on the ground, still muttering that it was impossible. When Lin Wanshu heard the news, she was sewing clothes for Xiao Miaomiao. A few days ago, Xiao Jianxi from next door sent a small military uniform. Xiao Miaomiao immediately quit and kept chasing her brother, wanting his military uniform. Lin Wanshu happened to have military green fabric, so she simply cut it and made her one. Yu Fengfeng had just come back from work, and she ran to her house without even putting down her bag. At this moment, 1 big, 2 small, and 3 children were squatting in front of her, staring at her with big eyes and curiously watching her sew clothes. Yu Fengfeng was watching, and she was still babble. I just took a peek. That old woman was crying so miserably. She said miserable, but her expression was clearly gloating. If I were surnamed Huang, I would get my job back even if I had to complain to the higher authorities, and I would earn money to support myself in the future, and I would never give birth to a son. She finally got a baby in her arms, but the old witch knocked him away. If it were her, she would not be able to swallow this breath. Lin Wanshu flicked her head. Don't say bad words, it will teach the child bad things. Yu Fongfong wanted to say that her son could not be taught to be bad because he was bad to begin with. But after meeting Xiao Miao's big watery eyes, these words turned into two awkward laughs. She didn't talk about the previous topic anymore, and she pulled Lin Wanshu to complain about the bad things she encountered at work today. Lin Wanshu was not impatient. She just listened carefully and gave some opinions from time to time. She didn't say much, but every word she said was to the point. Yu Fongfong's eyes lit up. She hugged Lin Wanshu's arm, her face full of amazement. Wan, how can you be so powerful? You know everything? Qin Yan had just come back from outside and saw that his wife was occupied by someone again. Yu Fongfong still had her arm around Lin Wanshu and was being affectionate and coquettish when she felt a cold gaze falling on her hand. The familiar chill on her back made her body stiffen, and her hand automatically let go of Lin Wanshu's arm. Well, Wan, my man is probably back too, so I'll go back first. Yu Fongfong, who never took anyone seriously, was like a mouse seeing a cat when she saw Qin Yan. She wouldn't stay in front of him for anything. Now he treated her like an enemy, so how could she dare to stay here any longer? Seeing this scene that was going to happen every now and then, Lin Wanshu suddenly felt helpless and a little funny. Didn't you say you wanted to eat snails? The ones I picked up a few days ago are now well raised. I'll fry them, and you can take a plate home to eat. When she heard that she was going to fry snails, Yu Fongfong's eyes lit up again. Can the snails be fried? Then I'll go back later. With food to eat, how could she care about Qin Yan's gaze? When she thought of the delicious food she tasted that day, her saliva almost flowed to the ground. Aunt Wanshu, I want to eat snails too. Let me help you cut the snail's ace. Feng Jianxi swallowed his saliva hard, wishing he could cut the snail out right now. Although Xiao Miao is still young, the snails are raised at home. She has seen them every day and has long recognized what they are. At this moment, when she heard the adults mention snails, she also shouted excitedly. Move Qin Yan was also obsessed with the delicious food he had eaten that day. When he heard that Lin Wanshu was going to fry snails, he didn't intend to give Xiao Jianxi a chance to do it. I'll do the cutting, you help Uncle Qin take care of your sister. Just like that, with Lin Wanshu's words, everyone's attention was attracted to the snails. Qin Yan went to get the snails, and Xiao Jianxi and Xiao Miao followed behind happily. Yu Fongfong was not idle either, so she went to help wash the peppers and basil. Although she still couldn't cook, she had learned to help out now. Qin Yan is worthy of being a hexagonal warrior, and he does everything in a professional manner. Other people might not be able to catch one of the plump snails after several tries, but in his hands, they were extremely obedient. He caught one at a time, and the broken end of each one was neat and tidy. This operation made Feng Jianxi stunned. Dad, great. Xiao Miao didn't understand, but it didn't stop her from applauding him. Qin Yan's face didn't show any changes, but if you look closely, the corners of his lips clearly curled up slightly. In the yard, Lin Wanshu was still sewing the clothes in her hands with her fingers flying. She was good at sewing, and children's clothes were small, so it didn't take long to make a set. But before she finished sewing, suddenly, two little soldiers carrying sewing machines appeared at the door. Sewing machine. It's a sewing machine. There were a few children around the little soldiers, shouting and jumping behind them. Lin Wanshu saw the little soldiers walking straight into her door, and she couldn't help feeling a little strange. Putting down the needle and thread in her hand, she walked over. Comrade, who are you looking for? Xiao Zhen was almost dazzled by the sight of such a beautiful female comrade. When he came to his senses, he said with a flushed face, Sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, this sewing machine was asked by the battalion commander to be carried here. It is said that after 3 years of military service, a sow can become as beautiful as Diao Chan. There are usually no female comrades in the army, and at this moment, he was struck by her beauty and couldn't even speak clearly. But before he could take a closer look, he saw Qin Yan coming out of the kitchen. Carry the sewing machine here. Hearing Qin Yan's faint voice, the hearts of the young soldiers were inexplicably startled. How could they dare to take another look? Yes, battalion commander. The two of them carried the sewing machine into the house with their eyes and noses. Many military wives who heard the noise just now also came to watch. Seeing a brand new sewing machine being carried into Lin Wanshu's room, most of the military wives present were envious. Wanshu, your man loves you too much, doesn't he? Yang Zheng couldn't help but admire. Who doesn't want a sewing machine in this era? But how can a sewing machine be so easy to buy? Not only is it expensive, but you also need a plane ticket. It's not enough to have money and tickets. You have to wait until it's in stock before you can buy it. As a result, someone bought a sewing machine as soon as they arrived. How could they not envy them? Lin Wanshu didn't expect Qin Yan to buy her a sewing machine. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't surprised. Although she didn't lack these things, it was very precious that he spent so much time on her. But she didn't want to show off how good her man was in front of other people, so she smiled and praised the other party in return. Your company commander Ma is not bad. I heard that when you had surgery to remove your appendix, he took care of you without taking off his clothes. Hearing this, Yang Zheng's heart was really soothed. But she still envied the sewing machine. I wish I could buy a sewing machine one day. Although her man has nothing to say about her, he is not a generous person. Asking him to spend money to buy a sewing machine would probably be as painful as cutting his flesh. Lin Wanshu couldn't respond to this. Sewing machines are indeed not easy to buy, and she didn't know how Qin Yan bought one in such a short time. At this moment, a somewhat contemptuous voice came. TSK. What's the big deal? It's just a sewing machine. I have 4 other big items at home. As soon as these words fell, the envious voices suddenly quieted down. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. Who else could it be but Fong Bailey, the military wife who lived in the building? Thanks to her showing off from time to time, who in the family compound doesn't know that her family has the 4 major items that everyone admires? Especially the military wives in the countryside. They dare not even dream of so much. Having just one of them is enough to make them ecstatic. If it were an ordinary person, they would have been unhappy a long time ago, but Lin Wanshu has seen everything. How could she care about this little comparison? Just when she was about to speak, she heard Qin Yan's somewhat apologetic voice. I have asked someone to help buy the other 3 major items, and they will take 6 or 7 days to deliver. We got married in a hurry, and I should have prepared them for you when we got married, but I delayed them in the past 2 years, so I'm making it up to you now. In fact, the watch has been bought, but there were too few styles in the county department store at that time. Qin Yan always felt that the watch he bought for her at the wedding was not good looking, so he simply bought a new one. Hearing this, the military wives present were all numb. They shouldn't have come here. Not only were they shown off, but now they were fed dog food. Fong Bailey, who had a look of contempt just now, was slapped in the face on the spot and was immediately embarrassed. Yu Fong was still washing peppers. Hearing the noise, she was afraid that Lin Wanshu would suffer a loss, so she quickly put down the work in her hands and walked forward to sneer. It is said that the more you lack something, the more you like to show it off. These 4 big items are not something you insisted on, are you? Otherwise, why do you keep talking about the 4 big items in your family? As soon as these words fell, Fong Bailey's face changed immediately.
You.
What are you talking about? But that bluffing look made people feel that Yu Fong's words were true. In an instant, the eyes of the military wives who were originally envious became a little subtle. Bailey, what Fong said is not true. Yang Zheng asked, as if she was simply curious about how her 4 big items came from. I think it's most likely true. No wonder Captain Mu looked a little strange for a while. Taking out more than 1,000 or almost 2,000 yuan at once, who wouldn't feel pain? The military wives whispered each other and looked up at Fong Bailey from time to time. This made Fong Bailey, who was originally full of superiority because of the 4 big items, directly break down. Originally, when she heard that someone bought a sewing machine, she wanted to come over to show it off. Unexpectedly, she didn't show off the 4 big items, but Yu Fong took off her underwear instead. What's wrong with forcing it? It's better than you asking for it and not getting it. Fong Bailey said angrily when she heard that they were still teasing her in front of her. We are not so shameless. We can't force men to buy the 4 big items. Yang Zheng said with a pout. There is no one who doesn't want the 4 big items, but if they are forced to get them, it's meaningless. She would rather earn money to buy them than beg for them in a humble manner. Most other people think so too. Women of this era are reserved and strong-willed. The saying women hold up half the sky makes them stand up straight, so naturally they can't do things like begging men to buy the 4 big items. Although some people think that being able to ask for them is a skill, they dare not say such words directly, otherwise they will appear cheap. One against many. Even if Fong Bailey has a mouth all over his body, he can't win over so many military wives. In the end, he stomped his feet and ran away. Seeing Fong Bailey, who always showed off the 4 big items to them, being humiliated, the military wives felt so relieved. Wan Shu, try this sewing machine and see if it works so that we can open our eyes. The spoilsport ran away, and everyone gathered around Lin Wan Shu's sewing machine again. Lin Wan Shu had bought such a sewing machine after she earned money in her previous life. It just so happened that she needed to sew that small military uniform now, so she naturally did not refuse. When the little soldier carried the sewing machine in just now, he also brought a small bag of sewing thread. She took out a roll of army green sewing thread and began to install it. It is much easier to install sewing thread on an old-fashioned sewing machine than an electric one. Logically, she should be able to install it in a few seconds. But after all, she had never used a sewing machine in this life, so how could she dare to install it so quickly? But she stumbled and fumbled, and Qin Yan saw it, but mistakenly thought that she had never seen a sewing machine and did not know how to install the thread. Reluctant to let her spend so much time, he said, "Let me install it." Lin Wan Shu. She is overacting. Does he think she is too stupid? But when this thought met his doting hidden in his deep eyes, Lin Wan Shu's ears warmed slightly. Without saying anything to refuse, she gave up her seat. Then help me install it. I don't know how to do it. She looked like she was relying on him. Which man can withstand such trust and dependence? Without any nonsense, Qin Yan picked up the instruction manual, glanced at it quickly, and began to help her install the thread. Although the military wives inexplicably felt that they were a bit redundant, they didn't think much about it. After all, the installation matters at home are basically the responsibility of men. It is normal for Qin Yan to help install the sewing thread. Although Qin Yan has never used a sewing machine, men are born with an extraordinary talent for mechanical things. After only taking a look at the instruction manual, he installed the thread in 2 or 3 strokes. You try it. Qin Yan returned the position to her. Lin Wan Shu had often dealt with this thing in her previous life, so she knew that he had installed it very accurately without trying. However, she still took a piece of cloth and, under the guidance of a man, slowly stepped on the sewing machine. With the clicking sound of the sewing machine, a row of fine stitches appeared on the cloth as everyone held their breath. Lin Wan Shu was a little surprised. She didn't expect that he had even adjusted the tightness for her. You are so amazing. You adjusted it to the right place in one go. Is there anything else he can't do? The woman's sparkling eyes were full of admiration, which made Qin Yan's heart warm. However, there were so many people around, so he couldn't do anything. It was a coincidence. In fact, when Qin Yan was debugging, the instruction manual automatically appeared in his mind. Based on his intuition, he adjusted it right at one go. This wonderful feeling was just like chopping wood before. It was an accurate average at the first try. Although Qin Yan said it was a coincidence, the military wives thought he was being modest. They stared at him from beginning to end and watched him install it. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was done in one go. But these were trivial matters, and they didn't take it to heart. Instead, they urged Lin Wan Shu to bring it over if she had anything to sew. Lin Wan Shu hadn't finished sewing the little military uniform just now, so she simply used the sewing machine to sew it. Zhong Fengshu had sharp eyes, and when she saw the neat and fine stitches on the half-sewn pants on the table, her eyes widened immediately. Wan Shu, don't tell me you sewed this by hand, right? Lin Wan Shu had already started sewing the hem of the little military uniform with a sewing machine. Hearing this, she nodded. I sewed it. The military wives. What's the difference between this and machine sewing? Wasn't she born to attack them? Not only is she beautiful, but she also has good cooking skills. Not only is she delicious, but she is also good at sewing. Compared with her, they are just like people who come to the world to make up the numbers. Captain Qin is so lucky to marry you. Yang Zheng couldn't help but exclaimed. No wonder he has been thinking about Lin Wanshu for so many years. If she were a man, she would not be willing to die if she didn't marry her home. Hearing this, Lin Wanshu subconsciously glanced at Qin Yan. But she met the undisguised burning in the man's eyes. Yang Zheng, who had eaten another bite of dog food, wanted to slap herself. You are so talkative. Fortunately, Qin Yan did not stay for long. After Lin Wanshu got the hang of it, he went back to the kitchen to pick up the snails. In the kitchen, Xiao Jianxi did not join in the fun. Instead, he had picked up the pliers to pick up the snails. I don't know if Qin Yan's explanation just now has any effect. He picked up the snails better than before. At least a snail can be broken after 2 or 3 pinches. Unlike before, he had to use the pliers to knock off a little bit of the ace. But even so, the ace of the snail he picked up was still broken, not as neat as Qin Yan's. Xiao Miao Miao squatted aside and watched carefully, but her little face was wrinkled like a bun. Seeing another snail being broken, she finally couldn't help it, stretched out her chubby hand, and pointed at the broken snail. Bad Xiao Jianxi was a little embarrassed. He originally wanted to show off in front of his sister, but who would have thought that he would fail? Sister, wait, next one, I will definitely be able to pick it up well. Little Jianxi secretly swore that the next one must be neatly cut. TSK. I told you to let me do it, but you don't believe me. Another child who was about 5 or 6 years old sneered. The one who spoke turned out to be Ji Hualan's youngest son Xinyu, who loved to compete with Feng Jianxi in everything on weekdays. He was just trying to win face. Hearing him say that, how could little Jianxi admit defeat? Just wait and see, I will definitely pick up a good one this time. As he said that, he picked up the snail, gritted his teeth, and clamped it hard again. Under Xiao Miao Miao's expectant eyes, only a click sound was heard. The snail was directly clamped and flew away.
Ha ha ha.
Little Shun Yu laughed mercilessly. Xiao Jianxi blushed after losing face in front of his beautiful sister again.
What are you laughing at?
Here, I don't believe you can pick it up better than me. As he said that, little Jianxi handed over the pliers in his hand. But before Xinyu could take it, it was robbed by someone. Let me try. After the pliers were robbed, Xinyu wanted to curse. But when he looked up, he found that it was his brother, and he swallowed the words on his lips. Shen Xiai took the pliers and squatted beside the basin. He reached out to pick up a snail, put the pliers' mouth in the position where the 2 sections were retained, and exerted a little force. There was only a click sound, and the tail broke off.
Wow.
Xiao Miao Miao exclaimed loudly, and clapped his hands hard again. Xiao Jianxi and Xiao Xinyu were shown off, and they were all bad. Brother, let me try. Xiao Xinyu was not convinced, and insisted on picking one up himself. Your hand was bleeding yesterday. Be careful not to break the wound. Shen Xiai did not hand in the pliers, but picked up another snail and continued to pick it up. Hearing this, Xiao Xinyu, who was originally eager to try, immediately gave up. He was not afraid of breaking the wound, but he was afraid that he would be beaten by his mother when he returned, because this wound was accidentally scratched when he climbed the tree to visit the bird's nest yesterday. If Comrade Ji Hualan found out that he climbed so high, she would definitely beat his ace. Seeing that he didn't fight for it, Shen Xiai continued to pick up the snails. Little Jianxi was stunned. Why could Shen Xiai, who was only 2 years older than him, pick up the snails so well? He was not convinced. Xiao Miao Miao watched the snails being picked up for a long time, probably because he was bored, so he stood up and wanted to go out to play. Shen Xiai looked up, then continued to pick up the snails in his hand, and then handed the pliers to Xiao Jianxi. Here, just pick it up like I did just now. Xiao Jianxi got the pliers again, and was immediately excited. He didn't care where his sister went. He picked up the snails and continued to fight hard. He vowed to impress his sister Miao Miao. Xiao Shun couldn't pick up the snails anymore, but he was unwilling to leave, so he continued to squat beside the basin and watch Xiao Jianxi pick them up. Xiao Miao Miao came to the yard, squatted beside a cricket hole, tilted her head, and looked inside. You want to catch crickets? Shin Xiai squatted beside her at some point. Xiao Miao Miao had played with the two brothers of the Shin family a lot these days, and was very familiar with him. But she was probably still young, and when she heard his words, she blinked her eyes and nodded after a moment. Shin Xiai took out a bottle from nowhere and filled it with a pot of water. Then he turned the bottle mouth upside down on the hole. With a sound of gurgling, the water in the bottle quickly flowed into the hole. Not long after, a black thing rushed out of the hole. Shin Xiai quickly picked up the bottle and blocked the bottle mouth. The cricket fell into the bottle. When Xiao Miao Miao saw it, her little mouth opened into an O shape. Shin Xiai took the cricket out, then put it in a woven cage, and handed it to Xiao Miao Miao. Xiao Miao Miao took the cage and smiled happily. Seeing that she liked it, Shin Xiai took her to find several cricket holes. After a long time, Lin Wanshu sewed the little military uniform, and the military wives left one after another, leaving only Yu Fongfong waiting for her to fry the snails. Lin Wanshu did not let her wait any longer, and brought the snails with their tails clipped and cleaned into the house. When the little ones saw that she was going to fry the snails, they quickly followed into the kitchen. Wan, I'll help you light the fire, Yu Fongfong said impatiently. However, Lin Wanshu directly refused. Be good, you don't have to light the fire, you wait over there for a while, I'll fry it soon. She didn't want her kitchen to be burned down. Being rejected, Yu Fongfong was a little disappointed. Xiao Jianxi quickly sat down next to the stove and occupied the position for burning the fire. Wan, let me help you. I'm very good at burning the fire. Whenever there was a fire in their house, it was his father who would light the fire. Lin Wanshu had seen him lighting the fire, so he did not refuse. Xiao Xinyu wanted to say that he could do it, but Xiao Jianxi had already quickly moved into the stove hole. He put a handful of dry leaves to ignite the fire. He didn't show any signs of it all day long, and Xiao Xinyu felt a little depressed. At this moment, the sound of Xiao Miao Miao's milky voice suddenly came from the side. As soon as Xinyu turned his head, he saw a small fleshy paw holding a hawthorn cake and raising it in front of him. In an instant, his depressed heart went up to the clouds. Brother, look. Sister Miao Miao gave me delicious food. Taking the hawthorn cake, Xiao Xinyu proudly showed off to Shin Xiai.
Shenchi
Silently took out 2 pieces of toffee that Xiao Miao Miao had just given to him from his pocket. Xiao Xinyu looked at it and was immediately dismayed. Be careful. Why did his sister give him a toffee but only gave him a hawthorn cake? Shin Xiai took out a toffee, peeled off the candy wrapper, and handed it to Xiao Miao Miao's mouth. Xiao Miao Miao didn't know that this toffee was given to her brother. When she saw something delicious being handed to her mouth, she reflexively opened her mouth and ate it. Shunyu. It broke her defense even more. Xiao Jianxi didn't know that those 3 at this moment, he was working hard to light the fire. He must let Aunt Wanwan know that he was a good worker. As soon as Qin Yang came back with the firewood, he saw the 2 brothers of Shin Shuwen's family surrounding his daughter again. His face turned dark. Lin Wanshu couldn't help but laugh when he saw his defensive expression. How old were they? But the pot was already boiling hot, and she had no time to care about them. Digging a piece of oil into the pot, he heard a sizzling sound, and the aroma of lard filled the kitchen. He put some garlic cloves and chili pepper into the pot and sautéed it. Then pour the snails into the pot. After a while, the whole kitchen was filled with a spicy aroma. Several children can eat spicy food. Not only did they not cough when they smelled the spicy smell, they were also excited. He looked straight into the pot. Xiao Jianxi was indeed an expert at making fire. Lin Wanshu made the big fire big and the small fire small. From his skillful appearance, it was impossible to tell that he was still a child under 6 years old. The snails became more fragrant and attractive under Lin Wanshu's manipulation. After the juice was reduced, she added some basil to the pot, and the delicious snails were ready. It smells so good. Xiao Jianxi wiped off his sweat and looked at the snails on the plate with bright eyes. Lin Wanshu divided the snails into 3 parts, one for Yu Fangfang and one for Shen Xi. He kept the remaining one for himself.
Wait.
After they all left, Lin Wanshu also cooked another dish. She had already cooked the porridge, and she was ready to eat. Shu stopped him. You can't eat this, it's a bit spicy. When she heard that she couldn't eat snails, Xiao Miao suddenly became a little unhappy. Lin Wanshu took out a bowl of egg custard from the cupboard and placed it in front of her. When Xiao Miao saw it, her little face immediately became happy again. How could they care about eating snails? After settling the little one, the couple was ready to eat. But just as they sat down, they heard someone calling at the door, "Sister-in-law, there's a letter from you." Lin Wanshu was a little surprised. How long had she been here? Why did someone send her a letter? With doubts, she took the letter from the little soldier, but she didn't read it immediately and asked the little soldier if he had eaten. "We are having dinner. Would you like to join us?" The little soldier felt warm in his heart when he heard her concerned words. "No, sister-in-law, I still have to be on duty." Seeing this, Lin Wanshu didn't force him to stay. He just asked him to wait a moment, then went back to the kitchen to get a bowl of snails for him. "I fried this myself. You can take it back and taste it later when you're free."
Taste it.
The little soldier didn't intend to ask for it, but smelling the overbearing fragrance, he couldn't say any words of rejection for some reason. "Thank you."
Ah.
"Thank you, sister-in-law." This day, the news spread throughout the army that Battalion Commander Qin's daughter-in-law is not only gentle and beautiful, but also knows medical skills. It is said that Battalion Commander Qin's leg was cured by her. Only when he saw the person, the little soldier realized that the rumors were not exaggerated. He even felt a little conservative. Not only was she gentle and beautiful, but she also had good cooking skills. It was another day of envy for Commander Qin. After sending the little soldier away, Lin Wanshu returned to the kitchen. She glanced at the address on the letter she had just placed on the table and found that it was from the Red Star Brigade. Could it be from our parents? Lin Wanshu asked a little strangely. If it was sent by a family member, why didn't it write Qin Yan's name instead of hers? You'll know after you open it and take a look. Qin Yan was sitting on her right side. There was a bowl of rice in front of both of them, but probably because she didn't come back just now, he didn't eat first. Hearing this, Lin Wanshu didn't say anything else. She opened the envelope directly. The letter was very thin, and there was only a piece of letter paper inside. Lin Wanshu took it out and glanced at it quickly. After a moment, there was a trace of ridicule in her clear eyes. Who sent it? Seeing that she looked wrong, Qin Yan asked with concern. It's from Li Xiuji. Li Xiuji was the daughter-in-law that Lin Jimin later married, and she was also Lin Wanshu's stepmother. A few years after Lin Wanshu was born, her biological mother passed away. Although life was more difficult in those years than now, Lin Jimin was pretty good to her at first. It wasn't until Li Xiuji came in that she completely changed. They said that if you have a stepmother, you will have a stepfather. This is true. Ever since Li Xiuji came in, she has become a complete burden, and no one loves her. I often have no choice but to eat whatever I can find outside. When he heard Li Xiuji's name, Qin Yan's eyes flashed with coldness. What do you need me to do? Although the two of them were in the same brigade, Qin Yan couldn't sit around when he was young. He would go up the mountain and go to the water with his friends every day and had almost no interaction with Lin Wanshu. Until one winter, when he went fishing, he happened to see wearing thin clothes. She was washing clothes by the river, and her hands were red and swollen from the cold. Later, he gradually noticed that her name was Lin Wanshu, and she had a stepmother named Li Xiuji. Her life was very difficult, and she did nothing but work every day. His job is to look for food everywhere. He doesn't know why he pays special attention to her news, just like he doesn't understand why he always leaves something secretly when she goes out to look for food. He was not used to Li Xiuji bullying her like that. Before joining the army, Qin Yan secretly gave Li Xiuji a lot of trouble. He was quite familiar with this stepmother. Now that he heard that she had sent a letter, Qin Yan's first reaction was that she wanted to do something wrong. What? Looking at the man's tense expression, Lin Wanshu felt warm and didn't hide it from him. She said that my dad had a habit and asked me to send some money back. Don't worry, I'll go up the mountain to give it to you. He can just pick some medicine and send it back. It's definitely effective, but I don't know if he can swallow it. As for money, don't even think about it. Even if she had space and countless supplies, she wouldn't send them a penny. The woman had an ambiguous smile on her lips, and her eyes were eager to try mischief. She looked naughty, which Qin Yan had never seen before, and he couldn't help but be stunned. His chest felt like it was scratched by a cat, and it itched badly. After a pause, he said, "When are you going up the mountain? I'll accompany you." He had an expression that he would support her no matter what she did. It was hard for Lin Wanshu not to be touched by being understood and trusted like this. After a long time, she nodded. Okay. Her heart seemed to be soaked in honey water. It was so sweet that the cold sarcasm in her eyes because of Li Xiuji turned into gentleness. After the family of 3 finished their meal, Lin Wanshu boiled water to take Xiao Miao for a bath. Qin Yan's legs were healed now, and he refused to take a hot bath no matter what. While the mother and daughter were boiling water in the kitchen, he directly took a bucket of cold water and took a casual shower in the shower room. When he came out of the shower, Lin Wanshu had just boiled hot water. Qin Yan didn't wait for her to do anything. He directly poured the hot water into the bucket, then mixed it with warm water and carried it to the shower room for her. Lin Wanshu. Since the day before yesterday, he has not let her do any heavier work. Lin Wanshu would argue with him at first. Later, she found that she couldn't win the argument at all. Her man was extremely domineering in some aspects. She had no choice but to let him do what he wanted. Lin Wanshu didn't take a quick shower. When the mother and daughter came out of the shower, the sun was about to set. As soon as she walked out of the shower room, she saw Qin Yan holding a planer that he had borrowed from somewhere and was seriously planing a piece of wood. Putting down the bucket of dirty clothes in her hand, she walked forward curiously. "What are you doing?" Qin Yan didn't stop his hand movements. He looked up at the mother and daughter and said, "Make a small bed for Miao Miao. Our bed is a bit small." Lin Wanshu. Why does this sound so unconvincing to her? On the first day, she also thought that the bed was too small, but later she found out that people squeezed next to her on purpose. There is still room for 2 fists between him and Miao Miao. Are you planning to let Miao Miao sleep in the small bed by herself? After saying this, Lin Wanshu's heart couldn't help but jump violently. Because of his leg injury before, she didn't have anything to worry about even if they slept in the same bed. But now his leg is not only almost healed, but he is also planning to let Miao Miao sleep alone, which makes her have to think more. Qin Yan looked at her blushing cheeks, and there was an undisguised burning in his eyes.
Yeah.
He responded with a slightly hoarse voice, and the straightforward eyes made Lin Wanshu unable to resist at all. The longer they spent together, the clearer it became to her that this man was not as calm and indifferent as he appeared to be. Thinking of the incident a few days ago when she accidentally ran into him getting up early to take a cold shower, Lin Wanshu's heart beat faster and faster. "Oh, then you do it." Finally, she pretended to be calm and said something, then carried Xiao Miao back to the house. Qin Yan looked at her fleeing back and couldn't help laughing. Lin Wanshu. 2 days later, before Lin Wanshu had even picked the herbs, she heard Hu Indi's angry scolding from the house in front. "You rascal! You can't even protect your grandson. Why don't you just die? How dare you come back?" As soon as the roar was heard, the wives of soldiers from nearby neighborhoods rushed out immediately. "What's going on? Is Huang Fengying back? Yu Fengfeng happened to not have to go to work today." When she heard the noise, she grabbed a handful of melon seeds and rushed to Lin Wanshu's house, insisting on taking her to watch the fun. Ji Hualan and Wang Chunling also came, and both of them looked a little unhappy. Let's go and see what's going on?" The surgery was performed the day before yesterday, right? How come he was sent back to the army so soon? The road is so bumpy. Aren't you afraid of breaking your wound? At Zhou's house, Hu Indi stood by the bed with her hands on her hips and cursed. "Did you know that you were pregnant with a grandson, so you deliberately angered me and made me hit you?" Huang Fengying, you are so vicious. Ever since she heard the bad news, Hu Yindi couldn't eat or sleep. The whole person is a little crazy. When she saw Huang Fengying at this moment, she could no longer control the anger in her heart. Zhou Tianzhu didn't say anything. His eyes were full of fatigue and disappointment. His son is gone, killed by his mother. How could he bear this, when he wanted so much to have a son? Huang Fengying remained silent. She just lay on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. It's like a body, without a soul. Even Hu Yindi's shouting and cursing could not reach her ears, let alone cause any waves in her heart. Speak up. Do you think you can get away with pretending to be dead? Give me back my grandson, you witch. Seeing that she didn't say anything, Hu Yindi's anger burned even more fiercely. She rushed forward and stretched out her hand to drag Huang Fengying off the bed. But before he touched him, he heard Zhou Tianzhu's loud shout. That's enough. Hu Yindi had never been yelled at like this by her son before. She was so frightened that she froze in place. It took her a long while to react. You scolded me? Hu Yindi asked in disbelief. How could he scold himself? She is his mother. Zhou Tianzhu pursed his lips tightly and looked very ugly. Let's forget about the past. Don't touch her again. He was not so confused as to really think that Huang Fengying had deliberately provoked his mother so that she would knock out the baby in her belly.